I'm about to yap about Gumball for 3 hours by compiling my best videos so that you can fall asleep. Or, I mean, you can actively watch the whole thing. I don't really care what you do while watching this video. From calculating how much debt Gumball is in, to some of the most random facts about Gumball. But let's start by doing something fun. Now, we all know Richard Watterson loves food, but how much food has he really eaten throughout the series? To find that out, we're gonna be tracking all of the calories he's eaten, seeing him go from a small kid all the way to morbidly obese. And what better place to start than the pizza? In this episode, all of the Wattersons are having a really bad day and decide to make it a little better, they should order a pizza. But Nicole is too angry to order, so out of all the possible people, Richard has to order the food. And this just shows the type of pizza he would get if you gave him the chance.
We have a family-sized pizza with 1/5 margarita, 1/5 vegetarian, 1/5 surf, 1/5 turf, and 1/5 mega meat.
And a toy.
I'm sorry, sir, we don't do toys.
And a toy.
But if you think this is bad, just wait until Richard explains why he's so angry in the first place. His bad day kicks off at the Joyful Burger, where Larry refuses to serve him, pointing out that he's already consumed 12,000 calories just an hour ago.
Less than 12,000 calories an hour ago. To burn that off, you would literally have to catch fire. I can't in good conscience serve you another meal before you exercise.
After not getting what he wanted, Richard goes absolutely crazy and starts chugging ice cream and devouring ketchup and mustard. But when normal food doesn't fill the void in his stomach, he starts creating his own food, like in the episode The Lie, where he invents the Schnuzzlewurst, a ridiculous, over-the-top meat abomination so greasy and massive, it would give your average-sized elephant a heart attack.
By the power of cheese! By the power of bacon! By the power of processed meats! By the power of carbs and deep fat frying! I give you the Schnuzzlewurst! It's a sausage with everything in and on it.
This monstrosity comes in at well over 3,400 calories. But it doesn't end there. Richard loves his creation so much that he doesn't want to cut it into pieces. So the only logical answer is to make 5 of them for the whole family.
I'm gonna make 5.
This creation is literally so obscenely fatty that it made Anna sweat actual butter, proving this meat monstrosity isn't just unhealthy, it's practically a biohazard. But if that didn't convince you, let's look at the time Richard makes an effort to eat better in the diet. Though, what he considers a diet might surprise you. We open with Richard doing something we've never seen before, searching for a salad. And for a moment, it actually looks like he's serious about turning his life around, until we see he has other plates, each one with a different food from a diet. From a no-carb diet to a high-protein diet, Richard has it all.
Pizza delivery!
And that?
My reward for dieting.
I don't know about you, but this doesn't seem like your ordinary diet. Of course, by morning, Richard has gained even more weight, thanks to all of his midnight munching. Though, after struggling to get more groceries, Gumball and Darwin had to finally step in and give him a proper diet. But before that, we find that he hides a lot of food. And I mean a lot of food behind the remote, in between the toilet paper, and even inside a banana, just showing how much this has become a problem. So the boys put him in lockdown, where he doesn't have any food. However, after tricking Darwin and getting out, he goes back to eating in the fridge.
Get out of there! Abort! Abort! Oh, it's just saliva. He's escaped! Fridge! This is a new low. Meh, feels like a very familiar low.
After this, they realize the only way to get Richard to actually exercise is by tricking him with food. After this montage, Richard becomes totally ripped and terrorizes the whole town with his new physique. But something you gotta learn is that you cannot separate Richard and food, and eventually he snaps out of it and goes back to being a foodie.
I'm sorry, kids. I guess I went a bit too far. Let me make it up to you. Who wants pizza? And after that, we can go for Mexican. And after that, we can go for Chinese. Oh, and we should get a burrito too, and maybe some ice cream. You know what? I could also really go for a taco right now. There's this place I know where they toast the tacos first. Then, maybe a burger.
But even this number gets completely blown out of the water in the episode The Menu. Richard is lying motionless on the living room couch, completely unconscious and in one of his deep typical naps, when suddenly his ear twitches ever so slightly, as if he's picking up a distant signal. And not even a second later, he jumps from the couch, shoots straight through a bunch of fences, and sprints over to the mall. Now, why would Richard do all this? Well, it's because Gumball mentioned the existence of a secret menu item at Joyful Burger, a mystical burger that can only be ordered by name, but no one actually knows what it's called, and that alone gets him to eat even more calories than we've ever seen before. They try to trick Larry at the drive-thru, hoping he'll slip up and accidentally say the name of the secret menu item, but he doesn't fall for it, and after their next few schemes fail, they just straight up kidnap Larry and put him in the greatest interrogation ever, starting with forcing Bergie, the Joyful Burger mascot, to eat rival restaurants' food, then decapitating and deep frying his fingers.
No, you can't eat Bergie's fingers.
Anything is edible if you deep fry it long enough.
But to earn the legendary secret burger, Richard has to eat from every single Joyful Burger in Elmore, and he has just 1 hour to do it. So they go through every Joyful Burger in Elmore, with each visit slowly increasing Richard's weight, but he still pushes through. Richard ends up eating 22 Joyful Burger meals, and if we base it off the McDonald's equivalent, we get about 1,060 calories per meal, meaning that just through this alone, he ate 23,320 calories, and that's not even including the wrappers and toys he ate too. At the final Joyful Burger location, when he goes all the way around town and completes his mission, Larry hands Richard the mythical McGuffin, which looks just about as disgusting as you'd imagine. But as Richard opens his mouth to take the first bite, his jaw just won't stretch wide enough to fit a single bite of the burger in there. Bro was quite literally full. This is already insane, but this next time Richard eats a ton of food, it's not exactly by choice. In the episode The Ghost, Carrie possesses Gumball so she can eat again, leading to multiple junk food binges that leave him overweight. Gumball attempts to resist with help from Darwin, Nicole, and even Richard, but Carrie keeps taking over until she finally realizes she has a problem. To help her with her food cravings, Gumball introduces her to Richard, and as you would expect, we see Carrie head straight to the kitchen and just start going down on everything. We don't know exactly how many calories Richard ate, but according to a USDA report from January of 2025, the average American family has about 3,914 calories of food available per person each day. So for a family of 5 like the Wattersons, that would be about 19,570 calories. And if you count the sausage he ate before tearing through the entire fridge, we can round that up to about 20,000 calories, assuming he probably also ate a bit more than we said. However, that's nothing for Richard, as he's shown to be able to be down 100 hot dogs in just 20 seconds. In the episode The Game, the Wattersons stumble upon a mysterious board game called Dodger Dare. Despite Gumball and Darwin's warning about how dangerous the game is, the family starts playing, and at first what seems like fun and games becomes a real problem over time. One of the cards challenges the player to eat 100 hot dogs in under a minute, and of course, Richard's the one who pulls it.
That's not a dare, that's Tuesday.
And Darwin picked a card that said that his left arm will copy Richard's left arm, and vice versa. So when Richard downs 100 hot dogs, Darwin's arm just goes ham, showing that he ate 100 hot dogs in just 20 seconds. He also goes for a jar of pickled eggs during all the chaos. A full jar usually holds about 12 eggs, which Richard probably inhaled without even chewing.
The only power this game has is the power you give it.
And why is my hand moving again?
The game's finished, Richard.
But these pickled eggs aren't.
But next, we got a way bigger meal, which Richard makes it seem so easy to eat. In the castle, with Nicole away, Richard is left in charge, leading to a day without rules. They go to the store and start messing around, and of course, eating from the shelves. But Richard's absolute American freedom ends up attracting the entire town, who destroy the whole house and even kick the Wattersons out. So Gumball, Darwin, and Richard try to get in by calling the police, picklocking the door, and the one that's actually most important, acting like pizza delivery drivers. And that last one works, but Richard, who was hiding in the boxes, actually ate all the pizza, which in total would be a mind-blowing 40,800 calories. Next, in the episode The Father, Richard eats even more food. It all starts when Frankie shows up to the Wattersons' house, and when he goes to the backyard, they start doing a ritual called the Vermin Man dance. And through this, Richard learns that his father actually isn't a good person, and how Frankie actually walked out on Richard's life. Feeling like he messed up, he leaves, causing Richard to feel down. So the only logical answer was to take him to Joyful Burger to get over his depression.
1 large fries.
I mean, I don't have any real
Beef.
with my dad. Sure, he's made mistakes,
Steaks.
but now there's too much time to
Ketchup.
and all this has left me in a
Bit of a pickle.
Well, he's gone on to make a
Hash brown.
of his life, and now I
Donut.
know what to do. Every night,
Ice cream.
inside, I just feel so
Waffle.
And comfort eating is not going to make me any happier.
This doesn't look good to me.
That would be 14,114 calories from what we just saw. But seeing how scared they left Larry, a former big guy, and was given a whole meal every second, I wouldn't be surprised if the number was at least 50,000. But now we're here at the last episode, and the amount of food Richard eats in this is just straight up ridiculous. In the episode The Tag, after getting into a fight, Richard and Mr. Robinson get put on house arrest, and they both try to mess each other up by having Gumball and Darwin help them. And one of those pranks is filling Gumball's bathtub with cheese. Of course, this is not a prank, more of a dream come true for Richard.
I've been wishing for this for 20 years.
Yup, that would be 1.3 million calories. That's what you'd get if you filled a standard bathtub, or about 80 gallons, with cheese. In other words, a bathtub full of cheddar isn't just ridiculous. It's a full-blown heart attack just waiting to happen. This would literally put Richard in a weight class of his own. At this point, Richard wouldn't just be big, he would be absurdly massive. Richard might not have shown himself eating the whole thing, but knowing him, there's no way he'd let that much good cheese go to waste. He most likely finished it all. Even after all of those calories, he still heads downstairs looking for more cheese.
What? No!
There it is.
Robinson stole all my cheese! He must have done it while I was in that magic bath. But how did he trick the tag?
But that's not all. After this, Gumball and Darwin decide to help him and Mr. Robinson get along by locking them in a trash can and having them work to escape. However, Richard eats the only way to get out by eating the key that was inside the cake. And after their trash can goes downhill, Gumball and Darwin try to stop it, but are already too late, and the trash cans get hit by traffic.
I'm sure they're still okay.
But now for what you've all been waiting for. After all the donuts, steaks, fries, joyful burgers, sodas, and whatever else he could get his hands on, Richard Watterson has consumed a grand total of 1,546,365 calories. That's like stacking thousands of Richards on top of each other. He's lucky to even be alive right now. But now, let's do something different and rank all of the episodes of The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball just released 20 of its 40 episodes that will be coming out this season, and today I'm gonna review and rank it all, starting with the first episode, The Burger. And man, I gotta say, this was a good way to start off the season. The episode starts right off with the Dusty Watterson house, as we saw in the trailer, where Gumball and Darwin wake up 7 years late for school, which is honestly a really funny way to address the show being gone for so long. Anyways, then we cut to a shot of Elmore Junior High, where Miss Simeon is showing the kids about the dangers of eating junk food, which is a little dramatic. it, but it scares Darwin out of wanting to eat Joyful Burger ever again. But back at home, while Gumball is trying to eat something, Darwin tries to help him resist the temptations of eating junk food. But they cannot escape it, no matter where they go, especially when their dad is Richard.
Hey kids, guess what I got for dinner?
Stop it! This food is bad for you!
So they go out in the town, and man, I gotta say, they really leveled up the animation in this new show. There are so many new creative shots we've never seen before. But anyways, they go around the town and finally find a semi-healthy looking place to eat. But this place is corrupted with fast food junk. This leaves poor Gumball starving as there's literally nowhere to eat. So Gumball and Darwin try a bunch of other stuff, from looking in the store, to digging in the dump, and farming. Nothing seems to work, and it turns out that Mr. Build-A-Burger is stopping them from eating healthy. And bro is literally a burger. Build-A-Burger is clearly just doing all this for profits, and he is super greedy. So Gumball and Darwin's solution is to eat him. Overall, this was a super solid start to the season. Moving on to episode 2, we have the assistant. This episode starts by showing that Nicole does all of the work in the house. She starts to get fed up with having to do all this, until she finds that there's a virtual assistant on her computer named Ori that says she can help her out. And Ori starts really fueling her ego and starts just yapping to her, until Nicole has to go back to her family, where Ori gives her a way to talk to her through an earpiece. And using this AI tech completely changes Nicole's life, literally just doing everything for her. She decides she's having a lot of fun with Ori, so she spends the whole day with her, leaving the rest of the Watterson family not doing so well. Cut to the next day, and Ori bought the Watterson family a bunch of stuff to solve the problem of her always needing to take care of them. And one of the things that Ori bought them is a VR headset for Nicole, which lets her have more of a connection to Ori. But the problem is, Ori turns out to be evil and is trying to trap Nicole in the VR world. Later this day, we see this when she gets them a new car. The car distracts Nicole and takes off, kidnapping the rest of the Watterson family, setting the destination to go off to Elmore Lake, which leads to a big fight with Nicole and Ori, with Nicole being stranded on top of the car. But while Nicole is hanging on for dear life, Richard uses a rat to turn off the power in the car, and in the end, they reunite and become a stronger family than before. And there's a happy ending with Ori too, as she herself just wanted a happy family and people to connect to, which is why she took it so far with Nicole. It's super rare to see episodes that just focus on Nicole, and I feel like this one did it perfectly, so I'll rank this above the burger. Moving on to episode 3, we have The Distance. This episode starts by showing that Gumball and Darwin's brotherly bond has gone a little too far, to say the least.
Yeah! Shuffle shock!
So to solve this, Richard completely remodels the basement and turns it into a fish paradise. But nothing can separate their bond, literally, and their relationship is really humble, but it honestly starts to get a little creepy how close they really are.
Hey, dude,
Sorry I can't make it to the phone right now, but please leave a message.
Gets me every time.
Gumball starts going completely insane, but to make it even worse, Nicole comes in and takes Gumball's phone privileges away because Richard used all the phone minutes in an important business call. Gumball starts going completely crazy until he goes on a computer game with some creepy dude who gives him advice to be evil and break into the basement and go crazy. But then he goes downstairs and meets Darwin and can't resist finally reconnecting, while in the process also, accidentally destroying the entire house. This episode is definitely one of the weirdest ones, and that's saying a lot, cause this is Gumball. This wasn't bad by any means, but the first 2 in the season I thought were better, so I'll put this at 3 for now. Moving on to episode 4, we have The Thing. This episode starts with the kids getting a call from Granny JoJo, at probably the most unflattering angle, and she starts instantly roasting Nicole. But basically, she's coming over for dinner that night, and Nicole warns Richard not to forget the thing they were talking about, and she really emphasizes this.
Maybe just a little clue? I remember the thing, yeah. I'm on it.
But my boy Richard has negative brain cells, and he doesn't remember. So the rest of the episode, they set out to find what the thing really is. But while he's eating a hot dog in the shed, it gives him flashbacks, which makes the kids realize Richard somehow has photographic memory while eating food. Through this episode, they go around the town trying to eat everything to find what the thing is. But thing after thing Richard eats, nothing seems to be the thing, until they get the genius idea to let Richard roam free in the grocery store to combine all the foods he's ate that day into one mega memory mukbang. And through this, he can access all his memories from that day. And in here, he merges all of his memories together to realize that Granny JoJo is the thing. But bro ends up fumbling and locking Granny JoJo in a bus station overnight, missing the window. And when he goes to confront Nicole, thinking he's gonna get her full wrath, it turns out the thing all along was to find a way for Granny JoJo not to come over for dinner, so they can have a peaceful night alone. And Richard remembered this memory through a kiss. Well, I'm not sure many people will agree with this. In my opinion, I think this episode was peak Gumball, and I love Richard episodes, so this is gonna take the #1 spot for me. But we still have 16 more episodes to rank, so let's move on to the 5th episode, The Butts. This episode starts in school with Gumball expressing his free speech to Principal Brown by complaining to him about how Miss Simeon won't let him write a poem about butts. Principal Brown tries to shut him down, but after a very anticlimactic speed walking race to Principal Brown's office, he reveals that he's self-conscious about his butt, which is why he doesn't like people talking about butts. And after a little bit more investigating, it turns out the deep-rooted problem is that Principal Brown got made fun of for his butt in elementary school. So from that point on, he wore a butt wig. Gumball thinks that reading his butt poem at the school assembly will fix all this. But to make it even worse, his old bully is the superintendent now. At the school assembly, Gumball tries to make his butt speech, but Principal Brown pushes him out of the way and then starts rapping his poem for some reason. And then he gets confident enough to reveal his butt and scared off the superintendent. I gotta say, this is probably the weirdest Gumball episode I've ever seen. And as you might know from a previous episode of The Amazing World of Gumball, they do not really have the best track record with butt episodes. I'll put this at the lowest spot for now. Now, let's move on to the episode, The Traffic. This episode starts with Nicole crashing out over Daisyland being super unsafe. But the problem is that Nicole bought tickets for Anais's birthday over 2 years ago and has been meaning to take her, but could never because of all the other Waterson's chaos. But in the car, while they're going to Daisyland, everyone all of a sudden starts really not wanting to go, which leads them all to crash out and have to stop the car getting caught behind traffic. And throughout this entire episode, they're just basically stuck in traffic with everyone complaining. It goes like this for a while until everyone decides to use 100% of their power to unnaturally go through all the obstacles and start pushing the car to Daisyland. But instead, they end up in a sewer that takes them to Daisyland, where they only have 7 minutes left once they get there before it closes. But when they finally get there, Anais realizes that she doesn't want to actually go to Daisyland anymore. And for her, it was more about the journey rather than the destination. And the biggest thing she wanted was just to be recognized by her family. This episode wasn't bad, but honestly, it was a little slow. And the episodes centered around Anais are usually kinda so I'll put this at number 5 on our list. Next, we have the astrological. It starts with Mr. Small being crazy and teaching them about astrology and how it determines everything in life. Later in class, Mr. Small starts using his crystal to determine everyone's relationships. And through this, he finds that Gumball and Penny aren't meant to be together, and they will break up by the end of the day. Gumball and Penny are the only ones in class who don't believe in astrology and all of Mr. Small's weird stuff, so they ignore it at first. But then, when they find out that Hot Dog Guy and Sarah actually got together, it makes them question their relationship because Mr. Small's prediction was actually right about them. But then, his predictions keep coming true, and a bunch of Elmore students you would never expect to be together start falling in love. But if it couldn't get any worse, Gumball accidentally gets spices in Penny's eyes, and Tobias walks her out, taking her away from him. On top of that, earlier, Tobias was shipped by Mr. Small to be with Penny, which obviously made Gumball really upset, and he starts to think that Mr. Small's pseudoscience actually might be correct, especially when Darwin abandons his relationship to be with Tina, which is who who he was shipped with by Mr. Small. Gumball tries one more time to make it up to Penny, but again, it just upsets her. Like, they're not meant to be together. He realizes something is wrong, so he goes to Mr. Small's office to find out that he's gone completely insane with his crystal. So he starts fighting him over it, which brings Gumball into a weird astrology world where Gumball realizes that he's a Sagittarius and she is a Capricorn, which means that they are never destined to be together. Gumball fights and disagrees with this bullcrap about astrology, which leads to Mr. Small literally going insane.
You two basically have like zero chemistry.
What do you know about chemistry? You're just a substitute science teacher.
Silence!
Gumball wakes up only to find that there was actual hazardous material that was in Mr. Small's crystal that was making everyone fall in love. So in the end, we got a super humble ending where Gumball and Penny make up, showing their relationship grow even stronger. Personally, I really liked this episode. Gumball and Penny episodes are always really good, and the whole making fun of astrology thing I thought was pretty funny too. So I'll put this at number 3. Next, we have the cheerleader. This episode starts with Gumball and Darwin finding Richard's old diary, and it turns out bro wanted to join the cheerleading team back in the day. But Richard never got to fulfill his dreams of being a cheerleader because Granny JoJo shut him down and told him that his dreams were stupid, which makes Gumball and Darwin feel so bad that they try to find the deep-rooted problem of why he thinks this. And it turns out the problem is a long history of generational self-doubt in the family, all the way back to the caveman era. So they decide they need to help Richard become a cheerleader, which is easier said than done considering his massive size. Later that night, after all of his training, my boy Richard is nervous, but Anais gives him a ball that would supposedly make him less nervous. When Richard goes onto the stage, he kinda looks like a creep and completely fails at cheerleading, but at least he's trying, until he sees Granny JoJo watching, which breaks him down. But then we get a beautiful moment where his family cheers him on and gives him the power needed to be a good cheerleader.
Richard, when you feeling a little blue, remember that we all believe in you. Richard, when you're feeling a little blue, remember that we all believe in you. Go, 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 go!
Richard ends up absolutely killing it, and for the first time, Granny JoJo is actually proud. This episode was definitely a bit strange, but it told a very good message. I'll put it at number 5. Next, we have the boring. This episode starts with Gumball and Darwin in recess when they run into Molly, the most boring person in Elmore, basically stopping time whenever people talk to her since she's so boring, but they just ignore her, and then walk on Tina's chalk art, which makes her really mad.
As soon as that 3 o'clock bell rings, I'm beating you both into a mashed up blue and orange ball. Maybe then you'll pay attention to someone beside yourselves.
Sorry, when was that beating gonna happen again?
When it gets closer to 3 o'clock, they chicken out and go to the bathroom to think. But in the hall, they get caught by Molly on hall monitor duty. But when they accidentally talk to her, they realize that talking to her literally pauses time because she's so boring. So they use this, of course, to prank everyone around the school, like Rocky, Mr. Small, and Principal Brown. But somehow, even though they had unlimited time, they still lost track of time and it turned 3. So they pause time again, right as Tina's about to destroy them, and they become kung fu masters. But it turns out they didn't train enough, and all their training was literally for nothing, as it doesn't affect them at all. So after this, they run and get crushed under Tina's toes, and to make it even worse, Molly starts yapping, which puts them in a state of eternal suffering. And this makes them realize that the only way to get out of this is by actually listening to Molly. And when they do, they learn that the artwork they stepped on earlier was honoring the extinction of Tina's species, and that's why she got so mad. And through this, they learned a lesson on how to be more considerate of the people around them and actually listen. Going into this episode, I had super low expectations, to be honest, especially with a title like The Boring. But this honestly was a super interesting plot, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm gonna put this at number 3. Next, let's talk about the teacher. This episode starts with budget cuts at school, leaving the students writing on toilet paper. And without his calculator, Gumball tries to cheat on the test with his phone, phone. But Miss Simeon sees this and ends up taking it. So later that day, when Gumball follows her and tries to get his phone back, she finds Miss Simeon doing the worst thing imaginable, stealing. So Gumball chases her after class, only to get knocked out and end up in her car. And while in here, bro obviously doesn't want to die, so he makes up a story that he was really inspired by her and wants to become a teacher. So Miss Simeon decides to bring him on a day in her life to show him what being a teacher is really like. And this is completely different than you'd expect. She takes Gumball on a whole journey. First, she beats up and kidnaps Cell Left Thumb. Then this leads her to find Coach on the road. And it turns out he's the one who's actually been stealing school supplies. So she gets in an epic chase and gets all that back. And then decides to take Watterson to show him something. And this was really mysterious, so the entire time Gumball thought she was just gonna go crazy and try to kill him, but it actually turns out it was something way more humble. Miss Simeon took Gumball to her cave and shows him that she spent all of her money and selling calculators from the school to buy laptops for all the students, so no student can be left behind. And for where the school budget went, yeah, it all went to the cops to buy robot dogs that they end up just throwing at Cell Left Thumb. This episode ends with a humble message about how teachers may not get paid much or be respected by anybody, but they change the future. This honestly was a very different episode than usual, and for that reason, I think it's pretty cool. We've never really got an episode focused around Miss Simeon like this. I'm gonna put this at 3. But now, let's talk about the app. This episode starts with Gumball and Darwin using their old phone, and the reason they're using this is because the Watterson family is too poor to afford a new one, which actually makes zero sense because in all the previous episodes, they were using phones a lot, and it would have made sense to maybe have this as a plot in the Amazing World of Gumball because they didn't really use cell phones in those, but you know, whatever. Anyways, they try and buy a new phone, but before they do, a homeless man warns them about the dangers of technology. But my boy Gumball and Darwin do not have the attention span for that, so they skip forward in time, get their new phones, and download this new hot app called Clicks app. But before they really get into it, the homeless guy convinces them that the Clicks app is quite literally turning people into zombies, and surprisingly, Gumball and Darwin actually wake up to this. We also get a super interesting backstory that the homeless guy actually created Elmore Plus and the Clicks app, and basically ruined society because of this. Also, he was really rich at one point, but then he like crashed his yacht or something, I don't know.
I lost everything when I crashed my yacht into my private island that I bought with Elmore Plus stocks.
So now they set off to stop the social media addiction in town, before Anton gives this beautiful piece of advice.
Like and subscribe!
Yeah, you guys should do that. Anyways, they end up using their old phone to explode the cell tower. But it turns out destroying the cell tower actually really didn't do anything, because there was free Wi-Fi in the store. Thankfully though, Nicole comes just in time to save them, until she joins the Clicks app and also becomes a zombie. But it's not until the younger generation starts getting cringe of their parents joining on their feeds. So at the end of the day, the problem kind of gets solved, I guess? I mean, the adults are still zombies, but the kids are fine. This was a pretty cool episode, but honestly, I liked a lot of the other ones better so far, so I'll put this one at 9. Next, we got the entrance. It starts with Tobias inviting everyone to his party. It seems like an awful idea to go, but it's way more fun than what they had planned for that night, so they decide to go anyways. And for some reason, Gumball and Darwin start daydreaming about their entrance to the party and how freaking cool they're gonna look. But then they get crushed when they realize that my op Tobias has no friends. He is literally the first un-influencer, and he's growing mold on his profile. So now Gumball and Darwin have to find a way to get Tobias more friends so that their entrance to the party can be cooler. So they try to give a bunch of gifts to people to basically buy them into coming into the party. And while looking for what to give to people, they find one of Uncle Frankie's old inventions in the attic, and the effects of this makes them happy and want to go out to party. And this is kind of just like basically the green stuff, as we'll see later. Gumball and Darwin go off to the party after spraying some, and they look rough to say the least. But basically, the cops arrest him and everyone else in town for being on this, substance, and they have a big party in prison. Meanwhile, Tobias is left all alone in his house, but at the last second, a cute girl shows up, and he thinks he's about to get some until it turns out that they are criminals trying to break into his house. And they start partying and probably stealing things to. I don't know. This episode had a really strange plot, but I love me an episode where Tobias gets completely screwed over, and for that reason, it at least gets a 7. But now, let's talk about the letter. This starts with Darwin writing Carrie a love letter, but Gumball completely overanalyzes this for some reason, and it turns out his suspicion was right, because when Penny and Gumball are being all lovey-dovey in the hall, Carrie expresses how much she absolutely hates public affection, or affection in general, going as far as making an example out of Gumball and literally going inside of him and torturing him. So naturally, this makes Darwin really nervous, because he put that letter in Carrie's locker, and he doesn't want her to see it. Gumball ends up getting it back from Carrie's disgusting backpack, but this letter is literally indestructible, and when they try throwing it away, it lands in Hector's backpack, which causes a super confusing mix-up, because he takes it home and gives it to Darwin in class. But when Miss Simeon sees Darwin with the letter, she says the infamous line all teachers say if notes are being passed: if it's so important, you have to read it in front of the class. So Darwin gathers enough courage to read his love letter to Carrie in front of the class, only to find out it was actually a response from Hector to the letter Darwin sent, saying he thought it was a little weird how he wrote him a love letter. Darwin reads this out, but for some reason, even though it wasn't about Carrie, or really about love at all, it was just Hector yappin', Carrie starts completely crashing out. But the reason she was crashing out so much is because she thought that he was cheating on her, which I guess is a pretty fair assumption, but in the end, Darwin builds enough courage to say to her face that he loves her. So Carrie does the only reasonable thing and possesses Gumball's body so that she can show affection to him, which is a little bit weird, and they say at the end of the episode they really need to find a solution to this.
Yeah, you guys need to find a solution. A short-term solution, you know, like quick. Something to resolve the issue at hand.
Darwin and Carrie's relationship hasn't developed too much in the show, so it's super cool to see another episode going into this, and for that reason, I'll put it at number 3. Now, let's talk about the episode The Gut. This episode starts with the kids not finding anything to eat in the house, because literally everything's expired. But Richard, he takes expired as more of a suggestion.
Dad, that milk was rotten.
Oh, be quiet. Expiration dates are more of a loose suggestion anyway.
Anais somehow comes up with an invention to show how food can talk, but when Richard accidentally eats it because of the 5-second rule, it makes his stomach start talking and literally become alive. And the reason it becomes alive is because Richard has eaten so much food, it literally gives life to this puny machine, and it becomes super intelligent, and even gained its own voice because of all the pure calories and lard in his stomach. Anais thinks this is super cool, and asks for her dad's permission to be able to talk with his gut about smart things, to which Richard agrees because he wants to be a good dad. But this gut is really smart. I'm talking like on the same level as Anais smart, which starts to make Richard feel bad and pretty useless. So he uses his own creative way to win the chess game.
What do I do?
Why don't you prove you are smart by beating them?
I'm here to take you down, evil king!
Richard keeps putting up with this gut problem for a while, until he starts getting hungry and the gut refuses to let him eat food. And you do not want to hold food away from Richard Watterson, because he gets so hungry that he goes to the fridge and tries to eat a moldy yogurt in the back. But that doesn't work, and Richard eventually literally starves to death and lets the gut take over, which is exactly what the gut wanted. Turns out this thing is completely evil, but then Gumball, Darwin, and Anais realize they need to give Richard Watterson food. This man is built to eat. So Anais grabs the moldy yogurt in the fridge and they give it to Richard. He literally sucks it up and he goes back to normal after probably throwing up 700 life forms in his stomach. This episode was pretty cool, and you know I love Richard episodes, so I'll give this the number 4 spot. Moving on, we got the episode The Rankle. This episode starts in the doctor's office, where Anais has a weird rankle on her head after being only 4 years old. It turns out she's already aging from all the stress that she has back at home with her super dumb family.
And no.
And Anais's wrinkle keeps growing as they do more dumb stuff. So to keep it from growing even faster, Nicole decides to follow Anais's book on how to keep the family safe. First, it starts with Darwin going to a school to toughen him up so he can't get taken advantage of. But Darwin is way too sweet for any of this to have any effect on him. But somehow, in the meantime, while maintaining a positive attitude, he still passes every test. And they come to the conclusion that cuteness brings infinite strength. Next, we cut to Gumball, where Anais tries to get him a top-tier lawyer. But Gumball has 420 life sentences worth of crimes, and trouble seems to literally follow him everywhere. So yeah, he's pretty hopeless. And that makes Anais's wrinkles get even worse. Then finally we cut to Richard and Nicole on a farm where Anais retired them. But being on the farm causes them to argue and horribly mistreat the animals with fireworks, causing them to stampede all over them. Which again, you've guessed it, makes Anais's wrinkles even worse. Basically just turning into wrinkle mush at this point. But when they get to the hospital waiting room, they sing a song that I think makes Anais's brain click that not everything needs to be perfect. She just needs to accept who they are. I'm not usually the biggest fan of Anais episodes, but I gotta say this one was pretty funny and had a good lesson. I'll put it at 5. Next, we have the episode The Gourmet. This episode starts with Gumball and Darwin at school getting the same disgusting school food they get every day, which, I mean, is actually just chicken nuggets, you know, it's not too bad. And when Gumball sees the gourmet food that Masami brings in, he gets super jealous and wants some. Like, that mac and cheese looks good, I can't even lie. But when he asks his mom to make some mac and cheese back at home, it looks nothing like it, which kind of pisses off Nicole because she still has that insane rivalry with Yuki. And she tells Gumball that if he wants to eat that kind of food, he should just go over to their house. So my boy Gumball, he wants that mac and cheese. He does exactly that. And when he goes there, Gumball has a master plan to gaslight Yuki, saying that he's super poor and doesn't get fed. So reluctantly, she agrees to let him stay for dinner and teaches him the way of being rich. They do this through a whole bunch of training, like playing tennis, wearing rich clothes, installing an app to control the house, drinking disgusting coffee that was digested by wildcats. Eventually though, Nicole comes over to meet Yuki again, which almost turns into another anime battle. But Nicole just goes and finds Gumball, who has completely changed. But at the end of the day, he just wants that mac and cheese. So he tries to get it like a wild animal, which gets them kicked out of their house. It seems like all hope is lost, until Gumball remembers that he still has an app on his phone that controls everything in their house. So they end up using that to destroy everything, and all of their employees quit and promise them free mac and cheese if Nicole gives them a car ride back home. It was really fun to see Nicole finally getting some revenge on Yuki in this episode. I'll put it at number 4. In the next episode, The Pool, it is a gruelingly hot day in Elmore, being so hot that ice cream trucks are melting in January. Richard tries to make a pool in the backyard to combat this, but it's literally so hot that it evaporates. But it's not until they look at the Robinsons' backyard that they realize that they have a super nice pool. And they must have like won the lottery or something, because their house looks super nice now. They definitely came into a lot of wealth in the past 6 years. But anyways, Richard and the boys make it their life mission in this episode to get into that pool. And they try a bunch of things. They start by just trying to convince Mr. Robinson, but after realizing that neither of them have a heart, they basically just try to become El Chapo and dig into the pool. But that ends up just completely breaking the cement and completely draining the pool. So Richard is left defeated, and he goes over to apologize to Mr. Robinson, where Mr. Robinson actually opens up and explains why he built the pool. He built it for his son Rocky because he was never there for him as a kid, and Mr. Robinson was always working. So he tried to buy him this pool as a way to connect with him after realizing how bad they messed up. Meanwhile, they scramble to rebuild the pool so that maybe they can get a chance to swim now that they're on their good side, but they fix it with an absolutely Temu solution, and at the end of the episode, they still end up in his pool, just not in a very good way. This episode was basic, but it was a very simple and enjoyable plot. I'll put it in the middle of the road at 9. Next, we have The Portrait. This episode starts with Nicole buying the family a professional family portrait, because literally all their previous family photos are just completely cooked. So they hire Larry, and they're about to have a nice picture day, until the door rings and Granny Jojo and Lewis show up, also trying to get in the family portrait. And they hear about this through Richard's weekly newsletter that he apparently does for some reason. And right when they're about to take the picture again, Nicole's parents and Nicole's mom's new boyfriend boyfriend shows up, because apparently Nicole's parents got divorced and Nicole's mom got with someone in Nicole's freshman class, Johnny Toucan, which is really weird. And then even Frankie shows up with the correctional officer who is now his new girlfriend. And when Frankie establishes order in the family and gets them to take a photo outside, he ends up backing up to get the perfect shot, maybe a little too far, and then he runs away. After this, the correctional officer calls for backup, and instead of trying to track Frankie, she decides it's way easier to get the whole Watterson family arrested, which leads to just the main Watterson family in the house, with everyone else getting caught, where they decide they need to get the perfect picture before the cops come in and bust them. They find Larry tied up under the couch, get him to take the picture, and get a crazy shot of them in a seemingly normal family photo, with the cops completely surrounding them. And they're about to replace the old picture in their house with it, but then they decide, yeah, you know, the old one should probably stay. Now, this was honestly a super unique episode, and I love how we get to see the entire Watterson family in this. So I'm gonna put it at 2. I really liked this. But next is The Climb. This episode takes place in gym class, where it's rock wall day. The kids storm in, excited to climb, but everyone's excited except for Gumball. And let's just say he has some PTSD from last time where he got his cheeks exposed from a strap falling off. In this episode, he goes through a journey. He tries to lose his fear of climbing by first trying simple things with the coach, about as basic as you can get on the toddler playground. But after he still has PTSD from that, he has Anais build a robot for him to help him climb, but not even that helps. So next, he resorts to his last option of taking advice from Mr. Small. And through this, he talks to his pants, which opens his mind a little bit too much. So he goes to climb the rock wall, literally naked, and scares everyone off with his pure aura. Yeah, this episode was kinda not bad by any means, but I'd probably just forget about this one. So I'll just have it go at 16. But now let's talk about the admin, or Adamin, I still don't know how to pronounce that. It starts with Gumball just simply coming over to hang out with Penny and use the karaoke machine. But it turns out she actually invited him over on a day where they're having a crazy family tradition, and Gumball kind of just gets sucked into this, and they have to participate by putting on peanut shells. And it's kind of funny to see Gumball because he's overconfident and he has no idea what he's doing, and the entire time Penny is just trolling him and mocking their tradition. And I mean, hey, I love to see how confident she is now. This episode is just basically Gumball embarrassing himself in front of the entire Fitzgerald family. But near the end, we do see a really cool moment where the entire Fitzgerald family has their shell off, which is extremely cool to see. And Penny's dad looks nothing like I'd expect. But yeah, overall, I'd say this is a middle of the road episode. I'd put this at 13. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of my rankings of these episodes. I'll update this as we get more episodes whenever that happens. But now, let's look at how much Gumball would owe in medical bills. Because if you take a look here, this is Gumball getting hit directly in the face with a bowling ball. And this is the Wattersons getting sucked in by a magnetic force. Which really makes me wonder, how much in total would the Wattersons owe in hospital bills if they could really get hurt? Well, today, we're gonna add it all up. From some of the cheapest injuries only costing a couple $1,000 to some injuries that could cost millions of dollars. Starting with the time that Gumball thought he was gonna have a date with Penny, in the episode coincidentally called The Date. But when Gumball arrives at Penny's house, he finds out it's not a date, and it's a funeral for Penny's pet tarantula, Mr. Cuddles. He tries to be supportive, but he ends up freaking out, upsetting Penny's sister and making a bad impression on her dad. However, Gumball redeems himself by finding Mr. Cuddles alive, but not without taking a couple hundred bites in the process. For this, Gumball could be looking at around $5,000 in hospital bills, covering an ER visit, IV medication, and a possible overnight stay. And for Nicole, who is the only one in the family that's working and is paid in literal peanuts, that kind of cost would already crush the Wattersons. And we're just getting started. Next, let's move on to when luck is not on Gumball's side. In The Apprentice, Gumball tries to impress Penny by tagging along on her dad's Patrick's business trip. Patrick wants nothing to do with him, but he ends up having to call Gumball his apprentice when Gumball sneaks in to work with him, Gumball annoys him non-stop, from checking bathroom safety to altering with his DNA, and so many other absurd things. But when they meet the goblin investor, Gumball turns the deal into a golf match. Except Patrick doesn't know how to play, so they cheat using every trick in the book, from magnets to vacuums. And just as they're about to win, Gumball gets knocked out. And when you stack the ER visit, CT scan, overnight stay, and meds, you're looking at a bill around $10,000. And wow, that golf ball might as well have been a no-scope headshot. The Wattersons better have some health insurance. But one thing you might notice is that when it comes to getting hurt, and some of these bigger injuries, it's almost always Richard. And yeah, his dumbness definitely has something to do with that. In The Authority, Richard is trying to watch TV, but the remote doesn't work because there are no batteries. He spots some on the coffee table, and instead of just walking over like anyone else would, he starts chucking them at the TV, hoping to hit the power button, and he ends up smashing the screen. He tries everything, from banging the TV, to cutting a hole in the wall, and even climbing on the roof to get to the satellite dish. But when he throws more batteries at the dish, one bounces back, hits him in the head, and sends him falling off the roof. And just to top it off, the roof tiles and the dish fall onto him too, knocking him out cold. And when you add all of these injuries up, yeah, Richard is looking at a bill pushing $15,000, all because a TV remote didn't have batteries. Now, Gumball may have been the only one out of them to take a golf ball to the skull, but in the gift, 3 out of the 5 Wattersons experience something 10 times dumber. Richard and the kids are watching TV when they get an invitation to a birthday party from Masami. Except it's not your average invitation with a letter. No, Masami is so rich that she has Larry show up to their door dressed like royalty, playing a bungle and delivering the invite with a blinding flash that literally burns her name into their retinas.
That was it. The confetti spelled it out.
We were kind of blinded by the explosion.
Just close your eyes.
Oh my gosh, it's burned into our retinas!
$3K each. But when they try to make an excuse to get out of the party, Masami just pulls out another invitation, burning it into their retinas again like it's nothing. While all the chaos is going down, we cut to Richard and Nicole at the hospital. And it's not even for the boys this time. It's for Anais, who caught frog flu because she kissed a frog too much while waiting for her prince to arrive.
Because your daughter kept kissing frogs. That's how you get frog flu. I'll prescribe wart cream, a healthy dose of reality, and far fewer princess movies.
When you add up the retina burns, ER trips, eye treatments, meds, and Anais catching the frog flu, you're looking at another $19,000 in medical bills, which could all have been easily avoided. But sometimes the Wattersons have to sacrifice their own health to save something they really care about, like Elmore. In The Nuisance, the Wattersons are summoned to the town hall, where the mayor offers them a brand new house, as everyone in Elmore wants the Wattersons to leave town. So to try to prevent this, the Wattersons attempt to become model citizens and help people in Elmore in order to stay. And of course, during the process, they get hurt, from getting bit by snakes to making themselves targets for bullies. The Wattersons become all the talk in Elmore, and then turn into real human versions of themselves that show a theoretical perfect family, except for Darwin, who was turned into a dog. Poor guy. But then they learn that the mayor's real plan all along is to sell Elmore to rich investors, which would mess with everyone in Elmore, which doesn't quite resonate with them. So they switch back to their old selves, literally, and cause full-on chaos in Elmore to ruin the sale and protect their town. I know, it sounds confusing, but that was their plan. They unleash termites in someone's house, dump radioactive goo on another, and draw a crime scene. But when Nicole hands Richard a car wheel, he throws it into a burning tire pile and passes out from the smoke. Then we go back to Gumball, who somehow convinces someone on to mug people, but instead just ends up beating Gumball with the bat. And for their efforts, the Watersons get tomatoes thrown at their faces, which Richard finds is more of a reward than a punishment. When you add up the snake bites, bully beatings, breathing smoke, and getting whacked by a bat, you're staring at about $27,000 in hospital bills. And all that just to stop Elmore from getting sold off to a bunch of rich buyers. But now, let's talk about an injury from one of the newest episodes of Gumball, in the Rankle. And there are some crazy injuries in this one. We see our first injury when Richard triggers a magnetic force on the machine, causing the entire Watterson family to get sucked in and then explode. And it looks like the Wattersons got some pretty bad injuries from this. Besides Anais and Nicole, Gumball, Darwin, and Richard look like they just lost a fight with a blender. But I'd assume that if this was enough to break the literal camera, it probably caused some brute force trauma to the brain. So I'll add that up to at least $10,000 for the three of them to fix that, and all their bandages. But it doesn't stop there, because just a short while later, Richard shoves his butt out of the car so he can reach into his bag of candy, and he gets full-on hit by a semi-truck. And because this put him in a full-body cast, this at least has got to add an ambulance ride, ER trauma care and stabilization, full-body CT scans and x-rays, surgery, if any bones required pins or rods, the full-body cast plus orthopedic care, pain medication, monitoring, neck brace, crutches, follow-ups, and physical therapy prep. And assuming there was no overnight stay at the hospital, I'm gonna say this was roughly $27,000 on its own. And if we had the $10,000 from earlier, that brings the medical bills in this episode to about $37,000. But the hospital bills are gonna really start ramping up in the episode The Code, where Gumball and Darwin try to watch a cat video, but the Wi-Fi isn't working, and they come to the conclusion that Mr. Robinson must have changed it, after Richard admits that they've been secretly using the Robinsons' Wi-Fi for years, and they can't get their own, since their credit is so bad that they need coins just to use the fridge. So Gumball and Darwin try to find other ways to enjoy life without using the internet. But just like you, who can't survive without using the internet, or being subscribed to Gumball Universe, or the best Gumball content in the world, the boys immediately get bored after trying to read a book. So they take Anais's advice to recreate the internet experience in real life. They build a fake streaming service out of cardboard, and even set up an email system where Darwin receives a video of Richard falling off a lawn chair. They keep going, trash talking over Scrabble like it's online gaming, trolling Larry with fake product reviews, and when they get kicked out, Gumball thinks he can reset his router by banging himself in the head with a piece of scrap wood. But if you think this episode is done with the characters getting injured, you'd be dead wrong, with there being two more separate instances where Gumball finds himself on a trip to the ER. When continuing to act like real life is the internet, Gumball's butt literally falls off, that being his own version of LMBO, aka laughing my butt off. And while he thinks that was just a joke, he could be looking at over $50,000 to get it reattached. But he'll probably then have to go back, because after this, they decide to sneak into Mr. Robinson's house to get the password, with Anais giving them instructions in a box that crushes Gumball.
What's a box truck?
And when you add up the ER visits, head injuries, crushed bones, pain meds, and butt surgery, you heard me right, you're staring at over $68,000 in medical bills. But next, let's talk about the time Anais was the only one who ended up in the hospital, though it wasn't quite what it looked like. In the episode The Brain, Anais is in the hospital for too much face palming, so much so that there is a handprint on her skull, all because of her family's stupidity. The doctor warns that if she facepalms again, her brain could shrink even more. So the Watersons have to go a full week without doing anything dumb. Of course, that's easier said than done. From trying to order food at a toll booth, to bleaching the entire house, dealing with a grocery store cashier overseen by a toddler supervisor, and a talking fetus CEO, avoiding dumb moments for the Watersons is basically impossible. Turns out, Anais has facepalmed herself into a coma the moment Gumball screamed 9 whole days.
Do you know how we weren't supposed to say or do anything stupid for a week?
Anais cannot be exposed to any form of stupidity for an entire week.
9 whole days?
When she asks the doctor what's actually wrong with her, he lists off a bunch of symptoms: headaches, stress, nonstop face palming, and being surrounded by way too much yelling, which all come at a cost to the family. And unfortunately, there's no cure. Although it turns out it was all a dream, I think it still makes sense to include it since I do see it happening one day. If Anais just constantly slaps her head from the constant stupidity around her. And when you add up the ER visits, brain scans, ambulance rides, meds, ICU time, and hospital stays, you're looking at $85,000 or more in medical bills. Facepalming may sound silly, but brain injuries are not cheap. All of those tests and treatments add up fast, making this way more expensive than anyone would expect. However, let's finally jump to the higher numbers, as in this next injury, we see it pretty much double, and it's in the episode The Goons. Anais sees how much fun Gumball, Darwin, and Richard are having being dumb, and wants to be dumb for just one day. So Gumball and Darwin go through a bunch of dumb things, and games like Mr. President, Talking Dumb, and making sandwiches the wrong way. But Anais just doesn't get it until she realizes in order to be dumb, you don't have to think at all. And instantly, she gets along with Darwin and Richard. Maybe a little too much, because as soon as she becomes really good at being dumb, Gumball starts feeling left out as Anais and Darwin spend more time with Richard. So Gumball organizes a dumb race, where you have to run as far as you can while being blindfolded, and whoever runs the farthest becomes the dumbest. Here, we got other characters competing, like Banana Joe, Tobias, and even adults like Rocky. However, the contest ends really fast when everyone in the race gets hurt, from turning into a banana split, and even getting eaten alive by ducks. Or if your name is Richard, being accidentally proposed to by Larry. With just a few contestants left, it's down to Gumball and Anais. But Gumball's been mad at her the whole time, so they talk it out, and Anais admits that she only wanted to be dumb for a day, which actually makes Gumball feel a little bit better. They make up, share a moment, then immediately get ran over by Marvin as they step into the street.
Let's go home.
Ow! 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 Ow!
Huh? Oh, the eyes! I blew it.
And when you add up all the broken bones, bruises, ambulance rides, and emergency care from other motor scooter accidents, the medical bill could be close to $192,000. That's about $96,000 each for Gumball and Anais. But if you think Gumball's jealousy ends here, then you'd be dead wrong. In the episode The Password, Gumball, Darwin, and Anais fight over the computer, only to realize it's been locked with the password. They try guessing it and literally smash their faces into the keyboard. After some definite brain damage, they find out that the password is Anais.
Yes! What are you doing? A victory dance!
That doesn't matter. Don't you get it? Anais is a favorite child.
Yeah, but...
Revealing she's Nicole and Richard's favorite child, which obviously they don't like. So in order to win Richard over, they start making him breakfast, and this results to them forcing a massive sandwich into his mouth, and he immediately starts choking on it. Gumball tries to do the Heimlich maneuver to stop Richard from choking, but his arms are too short to reach around Richard's massive stomach, so he and Darwin panic and start jumping on him instead, trying to force the sandwich out, and it kind of works, with Richard ending up vomiting the whole thing onto the ceiling. After that, they try to give him a relaxing bath, but Richard steps on a bar of soap, grabs the shower curtain, and knocks over a candle, setting himself on fire. He dives into the tub to put it out, only to scald himself with hot water. He tries to make a run for it, but Gumball and Darwin aren't alone. They plant a cube-based attack dog into his car, intending to rescue him. Instead, Richard gets mauled, panics, and ends up running into the street, where he's hit by a car. And when Richard has enough with everything, Gumball and Darwin say that Nicole is their favorite parent, which would escalate further when Nicole and Richard enter a full-on parental competition to win over the kid's affection, which turns out to be the person behind the whole thing the entire time, Anais, who changed the password in the first place. So for a choking scare that nearly needed the Heimlich, second-degree burns from a bathroom fire, and a attack dog that ends with Richard getting hit by a car, you can get a hospital bill around $260,000. And when you throw in stuff like visits, outpatient care, or therapy from all the sheer trauma of all of it, it can total easily over $300,000. But that still leaves you well short of the $1 million mark. But we get close to it in this next episode, the loophole. It starts with Gumball staying after class to complain to Miss Simeon about the homework, but she doesn't care in the slightest, so she tells him to put it in a suggestion box, which shreds his request.
Where do I file a complaint about the suggestion box?
Please post it in the complaint box.
And where's that?
Which causes Gumball to tell Darwin about how he wishes he could skip childhood entirely. Bobbert overhears this, and in true Bobbert fashion, he takes it literally. Then he blows up Gumball's head. If it wasn't for Gumball being able to regenerate his head, this would be a costly bill, even if he survived. But he realizes Bobbert is a serious threat, and he and Darwin try to reprogram him in their bedroom, giving him instructions to stop harming others. But Bobbert keeps finding technical loopholes that result in Gumball getting repeatedly injured, using radiation as one way to injure Gumball without touching him. He also sends him to last year in the episode The Spoiler. At one point, Darwin chokes on a snack, Gumball tries to help, but Bobbert intervenes, claiming his method might injure Darwin's spine. Instead, Bobbert inflates Darwin like a balloon, and Gumball just pops him. And if you add up all the things I just mentioned, that could cost around $640,000, all because Gumball and Darwin didn't feel like doing their homework. To put it in perspective, only about 10% of Americans will ever earn $640,000 or more in their entire lifetime. But now, for the final episode, we have an astronomical bill, and it's in none other than the copycats, where things become even more interesting, because technically, the Wattersons themselves won't be the ones paying. The episode starts with the Wattersons out shopping, where Gumball and Darwin encounter their doppelgangers, Chi-Chi and Ribbit, who copy their every move. When they tell the others, their family brushes it off as harmless, but when they spot the entire copycat family mocking them, driving a nearly identical car, they realize something strange is going on and try to get to the bottom of it. Gumball discovers that the doppelgangers are TV stars in China who have been copying the family's adventures and profiting off of them for a while the Wattersons struggle to even make a single dime. While discussing how to recover from their financial struggles, Richard accidentally tips the couch, only for a video of the copycats doing the exact same thing to pop up online. So finally, they confront these doppelgangers, telling them to be themselves. So if these imposters want to follow their every move, that means they'll just have to start making moves no normal person would follow, so the copycats can off themselves. They try things that are super dangerous, from blowing up their own home, to juggling chainsaws, and Richard even getting a kidney transplant.
Where are we going?
To the hospital. I'm gonna donate an organ of their choice.
But none of that works, and the copycats keep matching them move for move, bar for bar. So the Wattersons go out and do the craziest stunt yet. They hijack a gas truck, light the road on fire behind them, and start going straight towards an unfinished bridge. However, we're going too off track, and the plot of this episode doesn't really matter too much, because the thing that really counts for these medical bills here are the kidney transplant. Costs can easily hit around $500,000 when you factor in the surgery, the hospital stay, and the first year of medications and care. But you may be thinking, why is that not $1 million? Well, yes, a kidney transplant isn't $1 million, but what makes this episode interesting is that the person who got the kidney was Richard's doppelganger himself. And because Richard and the doppelganger are basically the same person, that means the Wattersons would technically be paying for two Richards, doubling their medical bill, costing them way over $1 million. That's enough money to buy over 200,000 cheeseburgers, which we all know Richard would eat without even thinking twice. But I'm not even done here. If we're counting the Richard doppelganger who received the kidney, he'd have to take anti-rejection meds, which are a drug patients need every single day for the rest of their lives. And if he takes them for, let's say, 50 years, those meds alone could cost between $500,000 and $700,000. And if both Richard and his doppelganger pay their half of $500,000. Factoring in the anti-rejection meds costing $700,000. Combined, the hospital bill could be looking at a total of $1.7 million. So if we combine the cost of all of the bills from every single episode we just talked about, we're looking at a bill of $3,474,500. So if the Wattersons have to pay these medical bills, they'd be drowning in debt, paying over $3 million, which is an amount only 1% of US families will ever see in their life. Now, we all know the Wattersons are anything but normal, and the same goes for their strength, with Gumball being able to go Super Saiyan, Darwin growing legs through the power of love, Anna yeast cutting a bus in half, Nicole going full-on anime mode, and Richard destroying the entire universe. It's safe to say that the Wattersons are at least a little bit strong. So today, we're going over all of their strengths and abilities, going from the coolest ones at 100% power, all the way down to 1% power. And we're gonna kick this video off starting with Gumball in his normal state. And in this state, his strength is anything but normal. At just 1% power, he unlocks the ability to transform his body in more ways than you could imagine. You've probably guessed that he could do some unusual things with his body, because, well, he's a cartoon character. But in the episode The Secret, he really takes this to a new level, even for cartoon characters, when he gets flushed down the drain. Because both Gumball and Darwin literally become water droplet, and somehow both fit into a single bottle of water. And if their bodies can morph like this, imagine what else they could do. But we're only at 1% power. Later in this video, we're gonna look at what Gumball is like at 25% power, 50% power, and even 100% power. But things are already starting to get weird at just 5%, at which point he unlocks multiple different new abilities. The first of which being in the episode The Procrastinators, where Gumball and Darwin both somehow can eat themselves alive, which makes even less sense than him being able to morph into a water droplet. But miraculously, Gumball somehow comes back after doing this like nothing ever happened, which is crazy. But what's even more crazy is the fact that you're not subscribed. Yeah, you're not slit. Anyways, at this point, Gumball's actual strength goes up a lot, which we see in the episode The Mustache. Now, Gumball isn't usually the strongest character, but he becomes a man in this episode after accidentally eating Richard's supplements instead of cereal. And after getting pissed off by Tina Rex, Gumball all of a sudden went through 30 years of puberty in 5 seconds and destroyed Tina.
Enough!
Although this might have only been temporary power, this episode is still insane and shows how strong Gumball can be while barely trying. But we're just getting started, and we're gonna crank it up to 10% power. And at 10% power, Gumball gets a device that can literally control reality. In the episode The Bus, Rob invades the school bus on Principal Brown's weird intervention they were having for the kids on the way to school. And it ends up somehow with Gumball and Rob fighting on a plane's wing. And just as Gumball starts to lose the fight, he gets saved by the cops. But this was just the beginning of Rob's villain arc though, because we see a lot more of him in the rerun, and this is where Gumball's strength really starts to show. In the rerun, Rob gets a remote that can control reality, and he starts doing some crazy things with this, like turning Richard and Nicole into babies, which ends up killing Darwin and Anais. But when Gumball goes to fight Rob in this episode, he actually has some impressive fighting skills while not trying in the slightest, which is a pretty big improvement from last time. But more importantly, Gumball possessed the remote that can control reality, which technically makes him the most powerful being in Elmore at this moment, because with this remote he can fast forward time, reverse time, pause time, and even control subtitles. But it's not a part of his character. It's technically only an external device, so I don't think it's as powerful as some of these later forms that Gumball goes through later in this video, like 25% power, where Gumball unlocks a crazy ability like nothing we've ever seen, changing your DNA. In the episode The Apprentice, Gumball is following around Penny's dad, Mr. Fitzgerald, all day to try to impress him so that he can be with Penny. But it turns out, one of the reasons Mr. Fitzgerald is worried about his daughter Penny being with Gumball is because of his bad genes. And when Gumball finds this out, he literally pulls out his DNA and shows him that he can change it at will.
But you can't do anything about your DNA.
Can't you?
And when Gumball and Mr. Fitzgerald come out of the elevator, we see that by Gumball just slightly changing his DNA, he's somehow summoned a bunch of strange monsters that are following him around. So far in this video, Gumball ate himself, obtained a remote that can control reality, and even changed his own DNA. But we're just getting started because now we're at 50% power, where even as a child, Gumball was still seen to be super strong. In the episode The Origins, when Gumball found out that Richard was about to flush Darwin down the toilet, Gumball was able to move so fast that everything around him seemed to be moving in slow motion.
Too fast.
Okay, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, Gumball can literally break glass just with his scream, which is already really impressive, but he can also seemingly control time, because everything around him slows down to a crawl when Gumball starts running around. And judging by how slow everything else was, we can assume that Gumball was moving faster than the speed of light. That means time would move super slow for Gumball compared to normal people. From the outside, it would look like time completely stopped him. And what's crazy is that this isn't even just a one-off thing. Gumball controlling time actually stays consistent when he grows up, and we see this in the episode The Countdown, where Gumball and Darwin are running late to school and they only have 6 minutes to get there before Miss Simeon marks them late. But for some reason, on screen there is a giant countdown, and Gumball and Darwin can see it in this episode. But when there's only a few seconds left and it seems like all hope is lost, Gumball accidentally runs into the camera, somehow breaking the fourth wall and pausing time in Elmore.
Dude, I think we just broke time. We never have to worry about time again!
But after a bunch of messing around, they realize that they need to go back to their normal lives. So Gumball spins the time bar on screen and they accidentally go back to a bunch of weird periods in time. Like millions of years in the future when the whole Earth was polluted, back to when the Big Bang happened, and even back to when there was monkey. But them hurting the monkey when they went into this alternate dimension completely changed the outcome of their real world. So Gumball and Darwin kept going back in time to try to fix their mistake, accidentally creating more and more clones of themselves in the meantime after each mistake. But then the real present day Gumball and Darwin fixed this after mentioning that it's a time paradox.
Hey, stop it! None of you should be here anyway. It's a time paradox. Oh, yeah.
And when everything seems like it's good, they somehow end up in another dimension where they are the gods of the world. But now we're at 69% power. And at this state, he starts unlocking some of his craziest abilities. One of the biggest ones is literally creating shockwaves just by roasting people. And we see this in the episode The Best, where Carmen is absolutely annoying Gumball by constantly calling him out for all of the things that he does, like being on his phone while talking to people and not eating vegetables.
Carmen's more smug than Anais when she does her wiener dog face.
Her what now?
You know, when she uses a clever word and her face is all like,
Shh! This is a library. People are trying to work. If you work in silence, your success will make the noise.
But you're making noise by telling me off.
The only time you're allowed to make noise in the library is when you tell someone else not to make noise in the library. So I will permit what you just said, but nothing else. By the way, you shouldn't slouch in your chair. It's stunting your growth.
But after Gumball's had enough of her, like anybody would, he decides to absolutely crash out and send seismic waves through the universe with just his words.
Maybe you should check your privilege.
I just meant that eating too much processed food is a big factor in weight gain, and
what? Big people shouldn't be proud of who they are?
No, of course not. I mean, ask your doctor and he will tell you.
He? Why would you assume the doctor is he? Is it because you assume a woman can't be a doctor?
What is this?
I have studied the martial ways of the social justice warrior. Fight me in an argument if you dare. Perish under the sword of my self-righteousness.
Him doing that was pretty crazy. But what else is crazy is Gumball's ability to absolutely destroy the fourth wall. And we see this so many times in the show. Like in the episode The Signal, where Gumball and Darwin realize that they're trapped in a TV show. And in the rerun, where we see him rearrange subtitles. In episodes, we even see Gumball stopping transitions and talking to the camera. But what's even crazier is that he is so powerful that we see him leave reality for a commercial and interact with the president of Cartoon Network.
Hi, Mr. President. You know, I've been thinking that on Children's Day, it would be fun if Darwin and I were thinking that first we would allow everyone to bring their favorite reptiles, and then we would fire everyone and fill the water coolers with ice cream. No commercials, no Ben what's-his-name, fireworks in the elevator, play fruit ball every hour, or maybe every 15 minutes. Can we do it? Can we do it, please?
He knows he's fictional, and he knows he's the main character, and that's what makes him so deadly. But what could possibly be more powerful than that, you may ask? Well, now we have to look at Gumball's final form, 100% power, and this is his anime transformation. We find this in the episode The Past, where Gumball turns into Goku and goes Super Saiyan, which is already crazy. In Dragon Ball, going Super Saiyan makes you 50 times stronger than normal, but Gumball doesn't just stop there. He goes even further. He hits Super Saiyan 2. Super Saiyan 2 is like normal Super Saiyan, but way more intense. The hair's spikier, there's lightning all around you, and you're basically either super mad or super hype. It's about 100 times stronger than normal strength, which is already insane considering how strong we've already found that Gumball is. But here's the part you really gotta pay attention to. If Gumball actually had Saiyan powers, then every time he got beat up or hurt, he'd get a Zenkai boost. That's something Saiyans get in Dragon Ball. When they survive a big fight, they come back even stronger than before. So if Gumball kept fighting and getting back up, he would keep getting stronger and stronger forever. And he would probably break the whole power scale. Now, everyone knows that Gumball tends to steal the spotlight, but Darwin's the one you really have to watch out for. On surface level, he might seem harmless, but beneath that smile is a fish with serious power. From destroying multiple homes by just sneezing, to literally being able to erase the entire world with just a scream. Today, we're gonna go over his 7 different levels of strength and find out how strong Darwin truly is, starting with his normal state. And even then, his strength is anything but normal. In the episode The Internet, Gumball decides to confront the Internet, who actually turns out to be a real person. The Internet fights back and starts messing with the crosswalk signals and completely destroying traffic, making cars zoom past each other and crash into each other. While Gumball runs for the sidewalk, Darwin insists on obeying the rules, waiting for the light. Meanwhile, cars keep swerving around him, including a huge semi-truck that he barely dodges. Yet, Darwin stands there completely unfazed, like nothing around him can touch him. Not only can Darwin dodge multiple cars at once without even breaking a sweat, but he also has super speed and can slow time when we bump his strength up to 5% power. In the car, Gumball and Darwin breeze through every chore Mr. Robinson throws their way. They clean the yard of leaves in no time, even sorting them by color. They cut the entire lawn with nail clippers in seconds.
I think they're missing the point.
Done!
What the?
Whoa.
And paint their fence multiple times in different colors, without even breaking a sweat.
That'll teach him to mess with Gaylord Robinson.
Done!
Now make it green.
Done!
Orange with purple stripes.
Done!
Yellow with black dots.
Done!
Pink.
Done!
Red.
Done!
Blue.
Done!
Black.
Done!
Yellow.
Done!
And inside, they're so fast that when Mr. Robinson tries to spill juice to make a mess, Gumball swallows it midair before it even hits the carpet. No matter what task comes their way, they handle it like it's nothing. If that's not having super speed mixed with pure skill, I don't know what is. And that's just 5% of his power. Imagine what Darwin's gonna be like at 25% power, 50% power, and even 100% power. But for now, let's see what he's like at 10% power. And something thing we need to know about Darwin is sometimes he just needs something to be angry at to unlock his true strength. And in the episode The Bros, Darwin gets super jealous over all the attention that Gumball is giving to Penny, basically abandoning their friendship in the process. So Darwin does some passive-aggressive things, to say the least, to get his revenge. At basketball, Darwin targets Penny, blocking the ball and flexing all that fish strength on her. LeBron who? And if you think this was just a one-time show of strength, think again. Because in the remote, when the whole family goes to war over the remote, Darwin holds his own with Nicole and Richard, who we've already shown have incredible strength. But that's not even it, because in the mustache, Gumball and Darwin wish to become men and accidentally get their wish when Richard mixes up their cereal with Male Power 2000 supplements. And as any growing boys, they start to get pimples, grow facial hair, and gain huge muscles. But their new strength isn't just for show. It's powerful enough that Gumball hurls a dodgeball with such force that he blasts Tina straight through a solid wall. That's not normal kid strength. That's superhuman, cartoon-level power capable of flattening anyone in their path. And while it wasn't just Darwin by himself, it shows just how strong Gumball and Darwin can get, even if it was all just from a breakfast mix-up. And as we go from 10% power to 25% power, Darwin gets even stronger and gains even more abilities. In the episode The Word, Darwin goes from the sweet, innocent fish we all know and love to a total loose cannon, not holding back and insulting everyone around him. At first, he just wants to stand up for himself, especially with annoying people like Sussy. But after Gumball helps him be more direct,
Say what you think!
When you try and sound smart and mix up your words, you sound like a fool.
Darwin goes all out on everybody, even characters like Tina, who Gumball gets beaten up by. Darwin shows no mercy. Then we go into a song, with Darwin looking downright evil as he stands on a pile of skulls, like he's a king surveying his kingdom, while the rest of us are nothing but ants beneath his feet. But after that, Gumball can't let it slide anymore, so he calls Darwin outside to settle things Street Fighter style. At first, it seems like it's all just in their imagination, as others around them just looked at them like they were crazy, until Gumball actually sends Darwin flying and crashing into a wall, which means all the stuff we see, like their powers and fights, isn't just in their imagination, but it's actually their first form towards something way more dangerous. So if it wasn't for Gumball, there's a chance that Darwin could have actually destroyed the city of Elmore, or even the world if he wanted to. But next up, we gotta talk about 50% power. And so far, Darwin has already dodged speeding cars, had super speed, and even defied logic of time itself. Yet, that's still just the beginning of how powerful he can really be. And in the countdown, we start to see some of that strength. The episode starts with Gumball and Darwin running late for school, and they only have 6 minutes to get to school or they're gonna be expelled. But then literally from out of nowhere, a countdown appears on screen. And when it gets down to just a few seconds, Gumball crashes into the camera, once again quite literally breaking the fourth wall, but this time it freezes time in Elmore. While everything is paused, they treat their world like their personal playground, messing with people as they're basically untouchable gods. But when they realize the internet and video games don't work in frozen time, they try to restart the clock by spinning the time bar, but all that does is send them to different times in history, from a messed up future where Earth looks like a disaster, to the Big Bang, to even what seems like prophets about to be sacrificed. So yeah, that's already 3 times now where Darwin has broken the fourth wall, changing existence as we know it. But now we finally hit 69% power. Nice. Where we see one of Darwin's most powerful abilities, sneezing. No, I'm not joking. In the episode The Allergy, Darwin starts sneezing like crazy at school. His sneezes get stronger and more destructive, causing chaos everywhere, even leading to his suspension for being a danger to others. Anais figures out that Darwin's sneezing might be being caused by stupidity, since he's been hanging out with Gumball all day, and we know how dumb Gumball can be sometimes, so that wouldn't exactly be a surprise. However, as they try to deal with the situation, Darwin's sneezes just get even worse, destroying multiple homes at once, sending objects and Banana Joe's family flying, with them landing all the way in what seems like China. Darwin tries to exile himself to protect everybody, but when all hope seems lost, it turns out that the whole time he just had a feather in his gills. And he was allergic to feathers, not stupidity. But just when you think it's all over, a crow lands on his head and he sneezes out one last time, breaking the fourth wall and even the camera. However, this wouldn't be the only time this happens. In the episode, The Compilation, we go through a bunch of characters who I don't really know what they're doing. I guess just a bunch of anything. But in one scene in particular, we see Gumball and Darwin have a high-pitched voice challenge, and Darwin comes on top, but in the process, he cracks the camera lens. But it's not really the camera, because right afterwards, Gumball says, "I don't think it was the camera." Then the screen completely shatters, revealing the void behind it, which means Darwin is so strong that he can single-handedly erase the world in just a matter of seconds, just because of his high-pitched voice. And since afterwards, the episode jumps right back to normal like nothing ever happened. This could mean that Darwin has the power to delete and restore the world at will, showing that he's not just Gumball's sidekick and can be more powerful than we thought. But even after destroying houses, sending characters and objects flying, and erasing the world as we know it in just one squeak, Darwin's chaos is far from over. In the Inquisition, we get introduced to Superintendent Evil, who doesn't like anything about the cartoon world, and one by one, he turns every character into animated humans, and then eventually actual humans. So Gumball and Darwin try to escape, and in the only way they know how, by using cartoon logic. When Darwin specifically clones himself, as he goes out of one locker to another, as well as squish and stretch his body thin enough to squeeze right through a vent, something Gumball couldn't do before, which shows that over time, Darwin has slowly learned how powerful he really is, pulling off things that Gumball couldn't even do. Not just because he's one of the main characters, but also he lives in a cartoon world where anything is possible, making Darwin easily one of the strongest characters in the series. But now, let's turn it up a notch and try to see what Darwin's true strength would be like at 100% power. And you might be thinking that we've already seen Darwin at his strongest, going from a kind of gentle fish to almost destroying the entire world with just his voice. So what could possibly top that? Well, it turns out it's actually far simpler than you'd think. Love. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but honestly, something as simple as Gumball and Darwin's connection is what actually makes them so unstoppable. And that kind of love is the strongest power there is. In both the Origins Part 1 and 2, we see how Gumball and Darwin started out as kids. Darwin begins as just a regular goldfish, but his love for Gumball is so strong that despite the odds, he literally evolves, growing legs and lungs to become a true part of the Watterson family, all just to stick by Gumball's side. Gumball and Darwin just click. When they team up, nothing can stand in their way. And we've seen in my video about how strong is Gumball, that Gumball is powered up beyond Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 2, with faster speed, stronger attacks, sharper hair, and lightning crackling all around him. This leaves Darwin as Vegeta, making them the most powerful duo. They've shown that they can do this multiple times, thanks to their crazy close bond. We're just lucky they haven't fused yet and used it for bad. But now let's go and see how powerful their sister Anais is, starting with her normal state. And in this state, her strength is anything but normal, because at just 1% power, she can lift people 10 times her size. And we see this in the episode The Castle. And in this episode, we see her do this in the middle of a disaster where Richard accidentally let the whole neighborhood party in his house. But throughout the chaos, they make the mistake of letting Harold into the party, who seems to have a weird obsession with poking people, which Anais gets fed up with pretty quickly.
We learned a lesson today. Freedom is a beautiful thing, but too much of it is... Hold on a second. And stop poking people!
But this is only the beginning of Anais's strength, because we're only at 1% power. Later in this video, we're gonna look at what Anais is like at 25% power, 69% power, and even 100% power. But things are already ramping up at just 5% power, at which point she unlocks multiple new abilities. And she uses that big brain of hers to do some absolutely insane things. One of which being in the episode The Safety, where Anais does some extremely complicated hacking, which is super impressive for a 4-year-old.
H-A-C-K, hack. Press enter. Really? Hack? Just kidding. Actually, I bypassed the storage controller, tapped directly into the VNX array head, decrypted the nearline SAS disks, injected the flash drivers into the network's fiber path before disabling the IDS, routed incoming traffic through a bunch of offshore proxies, accessed the ESXi server cluster in the primary data center, and disabled the inter-vSAN routing on the layer.
Yeah, that was crazy. And what's even more crazy is the fact that you're not subscribed. Yeah, you're not slick. But if you thought hacking a computer was impressive, you clearly haven't seen the episode The Password. In this episode, Anais changes the password on the computer so that she can have it all to herself. And when Gumball and Darwin find this out, they literally explode from anger.
Oh, good luck logging in. I changed the password.
We're only at 5% power, and Anais has already lifted a man 10 times her size, did super complicated hacking on a computer, and made Gumball and Darwin explode from anger. But we haven't even scratched the surface of her true strength yet. So now let's bump it up a notch to 10% power. And here, she unlocks a bunch of more unique powers. Starting with when we see her insane fighting skills in the episode The Past, when Gumball and Darwin accidentally walk in on her training. Well, you could argue that anyone could have karate skills like this with enough practice. What I really think is insane is the weird thing that she ends up doing to Gumball's face. Anais's pure aura is enough to make her enemies literally quiver in fear. You do not want to mess with my girl Anais. But let's take a step back from her pure strength in terms of fighting and look at a moment that shows how smart and analytical she really is. And we see this in the episode The Parking. In this episode, the Watersons cannot find a parking spot. So after following old ladies, Anais decides they need a more analytical approach.
Now take guide number 2. Notice he doesn't have a wedding ring. He's on his own. He doesn't have to wait for anyone. He'll get out of here quickly. But observe the tan mark on his wrist where his watch should be. This means he's sloppy, inattentive, forgetful.
Okay, what's your point?
He can't remember where he parked.
And while this might just seem like the case of Anais being smart, if she can actually identify things like melatonin level on people's skin, imagine what else she could do. But we're about to find this out, as now we're moving on to see what she's like at 25% power. And this is where we start getting more of a glimpse into how powerful she really can be. Like in the episode The Puppy, where the Watersons are tasked to take care of a turtle. But if it wasn't obvious already, this is the farthest thing from your normal turtle, as it goes around throughout the episode literally trying to kill the Watersons. But just as Darwin blows it up in a van, and they think that the turtle's dead, something completely unexpected happens.
No! This can't be possible! No! Well, I guess there's no getting rid of it. We'll have to keep it for as long as it lives.
How long do they live?
130 years.
This means that Anais is the only one with enough balls in the Watterson family to actually capture this demented creature. And as we see throughout later episodes in the show, they actually keep it in a glass jar. And I would assume Anais would have to be feeding it, because you would assume this thing would die without food. But at the same time, maybe they wouldn't want to feed it so it dies faster, and it can actually just survive without food. But either way, Anais is taking care of the most deadly pet in Elmore, and that's a fact. But we see even more of how deadly Anais can be in the episode The Fridge.
All we need is a little time to come up with the Darwin?
I don't know about you guys, but something about seeing Anais as a psychopath killer bunny is absolutely terrifying. And I would not want to run into her if I was playing paintball in the woods. But now, let's take a look at what Anais would be like at 50% power. And this is where things really start ramping up, because at 50% power, she unlocks the ability to drive an invisible car. No, I'm not even joking. And we see this in the episode The Check, where Louie gives the kids a check for being their favorite grandchildren. But what they initially thought would be a really lame low amount of money actually just turns out to be $5,000. But because they're the Watersons and they can't decide how to split the money, Nicole ends up stealing it and driving away in her invisible car, which ends up in an invisible car chase with the entire Waterson family. But Anais specifically during this invisible car chase is shown to have some really impressive invisible driving skills. And if her stealing a check in slow motion from Richard in his invisible truck wasn't impressive enough, throughout this chase, she manages to stay ahead, outmaneuvering all of them until they end up back at the bank to check it, where they all end up crashing, just to have Louie come back and reveal that the check was actually only worth $50. But not even this can compare to Anais cutting an entire bus in half, and we see this in the episode The Worst, where at the beginning of the episode, she walks through multiple people, and just overall causes chaos throughout the entirety of Elmore, just purely because she's in a bad mood that day. But whatever you do, when Anais is in one of these moods, do not let her near a school bus. Well, I warned you, but now it's time to move on to 69% power. Nice. And here we start seeing some of her weirdest powers, one of which including merging with another human being. And we see this in the episode The Parasite. And oh man, this has to be one of the most impressive things Anais has ever done. The episode starts with Anais being absolutely obsessive and trying to be friends with a girl named Jody, even though she clearly wants nothing to do with her. And let's just say Anais is doing way too much. From buying her an entire vending machine of snacks, to saving her from dodgeballs, and paying for her lunch. But eventually, it goes too far, when Gumball and Darwin find out that they merged together and became one.
Jody, do you need a tissue? Or a bucket? Get off my sisters! Everything! Leave us alone! We're getting away! Kinda.
Gumball and Darwin immediately assume that Jody is the problem, so they track them down and set up an elaborate trap to catch them. And when they end up in the nurse's office, this is where it gets revealed that Anais is actually the social parasite, and this is just really creepy.
All I wanted was to borrow a pen.
I can't accept this. Okay.
Yeah, I would hate to be friends with Anais. Imagine being sucked into becoming friends with someone at your school that you already don't like, and then take it a step further by literally merging with you without your consent. Now, we've already seen some absolutely crazy stuff in this video, and I bet a lot of you are already shocked at how strong Anais really is. But now, let's look at an episode of the show where I think Anais finally uses 100% of her true power. And this is in none other than the episode The Rival. And in this episode, it takes place 4 years ago when Anais was just born, and somehow, this is when she's the most powerful. The episode starts with the Watersons going through the hospital drive-thru, because apparently that's a thing, and after she's born, she immediately gets to business. This literally leaves Gumball and Darwin coated in cement, but this isn't even the end of it.
And Mr. Daddy?
And where are we?
Oh, we're the flowers? Oh, right.
And she does so many more straight up just evil things. From putting Gumball and Darwin in front of a moving truck to getting them in trouble with their parents. She acts like a straight up psychopath as a baby. And that's not even the end of it. She explodes them with a bomb, tried to drown Darwin, makes Gumball take a bath in boiling water, puts a bomb in Darwin's toy, clogs their arteries with sugar from cereal, gives them a bag with hundreds of live bees, and tries to push them into lava. And at the end of the episode, she says her first words, which is literally just blaming Gumball for getting them into that situation.
Yes? Gumball did it! Huh?
She has to be one of the smartest and most evil newborns on the planet, and that's what makes her so terrifying. But what's even more terrifying is Richard Watterson's strength. And let's go over this, starting with his normal state. And in this state, his strength is anything but normal, although maybe not in a positive way. At 1% power, he unlocks the ability to do something no human has ever done. No one believed it was even possible. He beat the game no one has ever beaten before. Calculator, or as Richard calls it,
Calculator.
Richard is so dumb. His sheer dumbness while using a calculator managed to explode his computer. In the episode The Brain, it's confirmed Richard's brain is smaller than amoeba. As we will see later in this video, Richard is able to destroy the entire universe by just existing. He is completely unpredictable, and that's the strength that's the most terrifying. But now we're on to 5% power, and things from here are really gonna start to get crazy, as with his newfound strength, Richard gets karate skills that matches Nicole's, super strength, and so much more. In the episode The Remote, he rips the car door off with his bare hands, which already puts him well above the average person in terms of strength. But then he proceeds to catch a remote in slow motion and somehow manages to run about 2 to 3 times faster than Gumball and Darwin, which is pretty impressive considering his size. And I was curious about how big Richard really is, so after a quick Google search, I found out he weighs a staggering 3,108 pounds. Him running at that speed, considering his weight, is super impressive and not really even physically possible, which just shows how powerful Richard really can be. Bro is literally defying logic, but that's not the only thing he does in this episode. Later on, he gets in a fight with Nicole over the remote, and as we can see, he actually keeps up with her pretty well in this fight, which again is super impressive considering that Nicole is literally a master at karate, compared to Richard, who straight up just sits on the couch all day watching TV. It is crazy to me that Richard can do all this. But what's even more insane is the powers he unlocks at 10% power. And in this state, Richard is really starting to do some damage. And we start to see this in the episode The Joy, in which Gumball and Darwin wake up in a really bad mood on a Monday morning. But Richard, seeing this and being the good dad that he is, decides to give them a hug. But not just any hug, a wonder hug, which seems pretty innocent at first. But it turns out later in this episode, the joy virus that Gumball and Darwin got from Richard's wonder hug starts spreading to everyone at school, causing a weird zombie apocalypse type outbreak. So far in this video, we've seen Richard create new viruses, master karate skills, super strength, and so many other crazy things. But now we're about to ramp it up by going to 25% power, where Richard can lose weight and become chiseled like a Greek god. In the episode The Diet, Gumball and Darwin force Richard to go on a diet because bro is just eating too much food. But Richard took the diet too far and accidentally became super ripped, which would usually be seen as a good thing. But instead, he became super egotistical and started traveling around the world and being a public nuisance. And eventually, this goes too far when he goes to a house that's on fire and starts posing as a sexy fireman, with the only hose to put out the fire in his hand. And what's even more crazy is the fact that he absorbs this taser like it's breakfast.
Oh my gosh, it's just making his abs more defined.
But then Richard remembers about food.
Could also really go for a taco right now. There's this place I know where they toast the tacos first, then maybe a burger.
But now we're on to 50% power. And this is where his strength goes from, yeah, somewhat possible, to being a straight up cartoon god and breaking the laws of physics. And in the episode The Console, we really start to see his true strength. Basically, for the concept of this episode, the world of Elmore is an RPG video game game. Everyone else has pretty normal powers that seem in line with their character, like Nicole having the I'm not angry, just disappointed attack, and Carrie having the stop hitting yourself attack. But then Richard comes out being like 1,000 times bigger than the boss, looking like a god, and uses his Ring of Fire attack, which deals the last blow, completely destroying the boss. And if specifically him turning into the most powerful creature isn't saying enough, there's more. For example, another episode which shows Richard's dumb levels of strength is in the menu, and it starts with him relaxing on the couch, just to randomly get up and run through hundreds of buildings and a boat like it's nothing. Speaking of which, bro was running so fast, he was running on water. But how fast was he really going to do this? Well, right after we see him run through the boat, we see that a camera on Elmore Highway captured him running at 200 miles per hour. And I was curious, so I looked it up, and you would have to run 11,180 meters per second to generate enough force to run on water. And considering he was running at 200 miles per hour on the highway, that means he was only running at 89.41 meters per second, which means Richard must have been running at 25,005 miles per hour, which is 6 times faster than the sound barrier. Anyways, it turns out Richard did all this just because he overheard Gumball talking about a secret item on the Joyful Burger menu. So after this, he sets out on a mission to find out what this is. And it turns out the only way to do this is eating a burger from every single Joyful Burger in town. So Richard does this, and in the meantime becomes morbidly obese, all just to find out that the secret item on the Joyful Burger menu is just kind of a normal burger, except with slightly more diabetes. It's actually crazy to me that Richard Watterson can eat this much food without dying. That's gotta be a power in itself. But things are about to get a lot crazier, because now we're on to 69% power. Nice. But on a serious note, there's a scene in the box in which Richard completely defies the laws of reality. Let's break this down, because this was a lot. For some context, Richard was speeding down a highway to save the president from some robbers. But thankfully, my boy Richard Watterson is somehow able to use his crazy driving maneuvers to swerve the car without stopping at all, jumping out of the car, canceling all his momentum. But to make it even crazier, then he dodges a rocket from a rocket launcher, beats up a dude with insane karate skills, and then completely rips off a steel door from the president's vehicle with his bare hands. All of the things he did here are completely impossible to do as a human, and I believe this is only a fraction of Richard's true power. But now, let's try our best to understand how powerful Richard truly is using 100% of his strength. And we see this in the episode The Job, where, as the title implies, Richard gets a job. But there's a problem with this. Because Richard is the laziest man in Elmore, the universe literally can't handle him getting a job. So the universe starts breaking around him. The weird things start with it always being night at food and stuff, snowing in June, and random senior citizens floating. After the Wattersons find this out, they have to stop him. So they get on his tracks and have Larry held captive in the car. And the reason they do this is so they can get him fired on the spot and prevent breaking the universe. But this wouldn't be any easy task, because the closer they get to Richard, the more the universe starts breaking around them. And as he's about to go to the door to deliver his first pizza, it seems that the universe will completely collapse if he delivers this pizza. And in this moment, all hope seems lost. And when Richard gets fired, the universe goes back to normal. Richard is literally so powerful that the universe cannot handle him having a job. Well, I guess that's one good excuse for not wanting to work. But now, let's level up and see how strong the strongest member of the Watterson family really is. Nicole. Starting with 1% power. And in this state, her strength is anything but normal. The first power 1% strength gets her is super strength. And we see this in the episode The Fight, where Nicole walks up to Mr. Rex's warehouse, and bro is literally 100 times bigger than her, but she just fearlessly storms in there and beats the ever-living hell out of Mr. Rex.
Well, that's fine by me. Well, I'm glad we finally reached an agreement. Goodbye, Mr. Rex.
That was already pretty insane, but still, while being at just 1% power, she can take over entire civilizations. And we see this in the episode The Choices, where Nicole looks over all the potential outcomes of her life if she got with different partners. And a lot of those were either too controlling, straight up weird, or just straight up resulted in death. But in an alternate universe where Nicole stayed single, she would have literally conquered the planet as a half robot. Now, that's already pretty insane, but that was only 1% power. Now we're gonna look at what Nicole would be like at 5% power, and things are gonna start to get crazy, as with her newfound strength, Nicole can literally run faster than the speed of sound. In the episode The Theory, when traffic was trash and the kids were late again, Nicole just casually stepped out of the car and started demolishing every vehicle that stood in her way. People were just trying to get to work, and she was out here playing real-life bumper cars. After clearing the road like a boss, she zoomed straight past the sound barrier.
What? We travel faster than the speed of sound. Give it a second.
Have a nice day.
There you go.
But don't let her super strength distract you from the fact that Nicole goes full-on Superman mode when her kids are in danger. In the episode The Mothers, the boys got themselves into trouble, and Nicole, being the godly being that she is, senses it and literally turns into Superman. Nicole just starts demolishing everything in her way and punches someone so hard that they break the ramp and literally get embedded into the wall. Elmore citizens better have insurance. That was so insane because she's literally only at 5% power, and she gets so much stronger later in this video. You have to watch to the end. And what's even more insane is in the episode The Choices, when Nicole casually leaps over a single butterfly to leap over an entire crowd of people. And she doesn't even leave a scratch on the butterfly. It just flutters away like it was blessed to be her launch pad. Physics just got straight up denied. But now we're on to 10% power. And with 10%, she starts physically evolving. And one of the best examples of this is when Nicole literally turns into Pat God.
You're a thieving, bottom-feeding, money-grabbing crook. People like you are squeezing the very last cent out of hard-working families. You're the reason ice caps are melting and baby polar bears are homeless.
Like, geez, I would hate to be Larry in this situation. She also evolves in a bunch of other ways in the show, but we see even more of Nicole's strength and literally transforming in the episode The Authority, when Granny JoJo comes over and starts arguing with Nicole over her bad parenting techniques. Nicole gets super mad in the heat of the moment, and she snaps and becomes a demon for a second.
What are you doing, sweetie?
Just making a sandwich.
Well, let me show you how to do it safely. Good luck trying to stop me, Nicole. I've safe-proofed this whole house. Everything breakable is now plastic. Everything else is rubber. Apart from that, which was paper. A good mother prevents accidents before they happen.
I am a good mother! Say it! Say I'm a good mother!
But now we're at 25% power, and this new transformation unlocks a ton of powers. It all starts with a normal family shopping trip. And by normal, I mean Gumball, Darwin, and Richard nagging her nonstop for candy like their lives depend on it. After the kids and Richard try as many tricks as they can to get candy from Nicole, she finally snaps. Her eyes turn glowing demonic yellow, her teeth sharpen into literal fangs, and claws come out like she's mid-Pokemon evolution. And she plunges them all into darkness like she's summoning the apocalypse. Shelves are flying, people are screaming, and Nicole is officially in complete rage mode. Oh, and let's not forget, just before all this, she went to get a free massage to calm herself down. Just a little relaxation, a little peace. Anyway, she continues her rampage throughout the store, and then comes the mall security. Poor guy. He actually tases her, and it works for like half a second, but then Nicole eats that voltage like it's an appetizer. She doesn't even flinch. And then she just grabs him by his collar and stares directly into his soul. And at that exact moment, he ages 20 years. That's right. Just by looking at her, this man goes into retirement. That taser might have worked on a bear, but Nicole evolved through it. This isn't just mom rage. This is a full-blown supernatural event. This is nothing compared to what she does when she reaches 50% power. And things are about to get crazy, because at 50% power, power, she evolves into Hulk mode. In the episode, The Money, after their family loses all their cash and everything seems to be falling apart, Nicole snaps under the pressure of holding everything together. Her body transforms, squared up jaw, and a terrifying presence that makes everyone back off. She doesn't go wild, but her sheer size and insanity radiate one clear message: don't even think about messing with her.
Step back! She's going to severely reprimand him!
Don't worry, kids! I'll calm her down with my irresistible charm!
We're broke.
The best part about this form is that only Richard is capable of stopping it through his sweet old jolly fatness. But it only gets more crazy with 69% power. Nice. In the episode The Castle, the boys are left home alone, with Richard being in charge, which you know is never a good idea. But anyways, while he's in charge, he lets a bunch of people into the house, and he's too nice to tell them to leave. So much so to the point where people literally start living there. At the end of the day, Nicole gets back home and looks particularly mad, knowing something's wrong. And when she goes inside and sees the mess, someone makes the fatal mistake of disrespecting Nicole.
You're going to clean this place until it looks better than when you arrived. Then you will leave and never come back.
Or what?
Now, if you think I'm exaggerating, get this. When Nicole is mad enough, she straight up turns into a killer robot. And not metaphorically either. And in the episode The Pizza, when society in Elmore collapses, Nicole has to protect her family. Some wannabe bandits pull up thinking they can take on Nicole. And no, that doesn't happen. Nicole straight up wipes them to the floor. One guy even got killed with her only blowing wind at him. She's out here doing Naruto techniques like it's light work. One thing's for sure, if she ever wanted to take over Elmore, nobody could stop her. And now, finally, we arrive at Nicole's ultimate and most powerful transformation. This is her using 100% of her power. This is the anime form. But before deep diving into her abilities at this stage, it's important to understand how Nicole became a master of martial arts in the first place. As a child, Nicole and Yoki Yoshida practiced karate under the guidance of Yoki's father. They were not only sparring partners, but they were also best friends, each strong on their own, but unstoppable when they're fighting together. Their bond was deep and their skill sets were absolutely unmatched. Everything, however, changed during the final round of Elmore's karate tournament, when Nicole and Yuki faced each other in the ultimate showdown. Yuki was more skilled and overall had better fighting skills, but Nicole's unshakable will pushed her beyond her limits, and in the end, she emerged victorious. But victory came with a price. Defeated and dishonored, Yuki was forced to leave America and return to Japan, where she continued training, driven by a single purpose: one day to return and reclaim her honor by defeating Nicole. For Nicole, the cost was far greater. She had lost her closest friend. From that day on, she vowed to never practice karate again. But now, that day has come. Yuki is back in America, and she wants to claim her revenge. But Nicole didn't want to fight her friend, so at first, Yuki tried to annoy her with some pretty childish behavior. However, Yuki, being her best friend, knew right away what would make her fight her. Given the Yoshida's family wealth and influence, Yuki threatened to have Nicole fired and even take away her home. And this was the final straw. Yuki and Nicole meet at the school gym for a final battle. Their appearances also changed to fit an anime battle. Right away, the two start fighting. They begin exchanging punches so vicious and fast that the human eye is not capable of seeing them. Both Nicole and Yuki are equal in the fight as well, until Yuki decides to spice things up a bit by using her special energy attack, resembling the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball. But fear not, guys, because Nicole has an ace up her sleeve. She successfully blocks Yuki's attack with an energy shield. The two begin bombarding each other with energy balls until Nicole finally struck one final punch, finally defeating Yuki. After Yuki is seemingly defeated, Nicole offers her a chance of redemption, but Yuki is unable to swallow her pride and attacks, resulting in the roof collapsing and trapping their children. Unable to lift the debris on their own, they unite their powers and finally free their children. In the end, the two of them apologized to each other and became friends once again. The anime form has everything: super speed, super strength, fiery eyes, energy manipulation, kamehameha. This form literally has everything. Nicole Watterson is the most unstoppable mom in cartoon history. I'm about to tell you 507 facts about the amazing world of Gumball. So whether you're completely new to the show or you've been watching for years, I guarantee you'll learn something new in this video. So sit back and grab your popcorn because this is gonna be a long one. In early development, the show was pitched under the name Gumball and Darwin before settling on the amazing world of Gumball. Ben Boclet, the creator of the amazing world of Gumball's favorite character is Sussy, and this might be because the face is portrayed by his girlfriend Arlie Charbonnier. In Japan, Gumball is voiced by Junko Takuchi, who is also the voice of Naruto. And what's funny is that she also voices Mr. Beast's Japanese dub for his videos. That means the same actress plays Gumball, Naruto, and Mr. Beast. That's insane work. A lot of the characters in the show were rejected advertising mascots from Ben Boclet's portfolio. I guess one man's trash is another man's treasure. Gumball takes more time to create than your average cartoon because of its mix of 2D animation, 3D animation, and so much more. This is why the time between episodes can be anywhere from 3 weeks to a few months. Darwin is registered as a pet fish instead of a student at school. Does this mean he gets a different degree? In Richard's early concept designs, he was a blue dog, which is hard to imagine because he makes such a cute rabbit. Gumball has gone through several transformations during development. Originally, he was also supposed to be a blue dog like Richard, and then he got switched to an unlucky black cat. And then for his final design, he became the blue cat we all know and love. Richard, Anais, and Nicole are based off the personalities of Ben Boclet's own family members. And Gumball is heavily inspired off how Ben Boclet acted as a kid. Bro must have been doing some crazy things. Principal Brown and Miss Simeon are in a relationship. This is supported by the episode The Sock, The Lesson, and The Burden. The episode The Sweaters is a parody of the movie Karate Kid. Ben Boclet didn't think the amazing world of Gumball would be successful, but it's gone on to win several awards internationally. The word nipples has been said on the show multiple times, despite its TV Y7 rating. Adventure Time has a more mature rating of TV PG, and they still can't say it. The movie Alligators on a Train in the Gumball universe is a reference to the real movie Snakes on a Plane. It's been revealed that Gumball was originally just a nickname. His real name is Zach, but it caused him to create a terrible alter ego in the episode The Name, so they legally changed it back to Gumball. Gumball's middle name was supposed to be Christopher, but his dad Richard somehow confused it for Christopher. In the pilot episode of the show, Gumball was voiced by Nikki Jones, who was also the voice actor for Chowder. When Gumball got greenlit and became a show, he got replaced by Logan Grove from the beginning of season 1 all the way to the season 3 episode The Kids. Jacob Hopkins then took over the voice of Gumball from The Kids all the way to the season 5 episode 11 episode The Copycats. And then Nicholas Cantu took over the voice from The Copycats all the way to current day Gumball. All of the voice actors were switched out and had to be replaced because the voice actors for these characters kept going through puberty, and their voices kept changing, which made them get replaced because their voices became too deep. Although Nicholas Cantu is the most recent voice of Gumball, he was played by Duke Cutler in The Gumball Chronicles, which is a spin-off of the show, which makes me think that either Duke will keep voicing him or his voice will get replaced once again. Darwin has a very similar story with his voice being changed. He was played by Jake Pratt in the pilot episode, Kwesi Bauche played him from the beginning of season 1 all the way to the episode The Kids, and then Terrell Ransom Jr. took over from The Kids to The Copycats. After The Copycats, Darwin's voice was replaced by Donnell Hansley Jr., and then his voice got switched again in the season 6 episode The Anybody. Christian J. Simon has been doing Darwin's voice ever since then. Despite his vocal talent and ability to sing really good songs in the show, Gumball is somehow failing music class. Darwin was originally designed for a show about mythological creatures hidden in a kid's backyard. That show was never made, but Boclet liked the design so much that he put him in the amazing world of Gumball. Gumball and Darwin are the only characters to appear in almost every every episode. I say almost because there's a few where Darwin hasn't appeared, and there's one episode where Gumball hasn't appeared. Darwin's name is a reference to Charles Darwin, who is famous for his theory of evolution, and this is represented by the Darwin fish symbol. Darwin was originally going to be a 3D animated character, but this was scrapped due to various difficulties. Darwin was inspired by Ben's childhood friend, Paul, and Darwin can even break glass with his high-pitched screams. Darwin has the longest name out of any character in the show. In the episode The Party, his full name is Darwin Raglan Caspin Ahab Poseidon Nicodemus Watterson III. However, this might not just be a bunch of random names all thrown together. Raglan could reference either a naval ship from World War I, or Raglan, a town in New Zealand known for its surf culture and dolphins. Ahab is likely a reference to Captain Ahab, a character who is obsessed with hunting the white whale. Poseidon could be a reference to the Greek god of the sea. And lastly, Nicodemus could reference Nicodemus the Haggarite, an 18th century saint known for his writings and spiritual contributions, as well as his deep love for all things. This combination of names adds a layer of depth to Darwin's character, potentially reflecting a mix of history, literacy, and mythological references. Nicole Watterson is implied to be the strongest character on the show. She can easily defeat Mr. Rex and literally transform into anime form. Nicole has actually been arrested multiple times. 2 charges include robbing a store with a hot dog and stealing her own car. Richard cannot hold a job, or else the universe will literally be destroyed. Richard is responsible for his family's financial trouble because he often spends their money on the most stupidest things imaginable, or he literally just throws it away. Despite wearing a peanut shell, Penny is actually allergic to peanuts. The show had Gumball in the name before the main character was even created. Ben Bucklett is allergic to cats, so it's a little strange he made a whole show based off one. In the episode The Ghost, the possessed version of Gumball is a reference to the detox hallucination baby from the film Trainspotting. Miss Simeon has been teaching since the Stone Age. That's 300,000 years. Miss Simeon's first name is Lucy, which is a reference to the first hominid to walk upright. Every episode has "the" in the title, except for the 2 holiday episodes, titled Halloween and Christmas. In season 2, Rocky's Biss You shirt is a reference to the band Kiss. This is because Biss You means kiss in French. Gumball is Cartoon Network UK's first original series. Ben Bucklett voices Sussie's wailing, screaming, and laughter. In the episode The Shell, Penny comes out of her shell, revealing that she's a fairy-like shapeshifter who can change form based on her emotions, and she no longer lives in her shell after this episode. Penny's Medusa form is cut from episodes in certain countries. In The Origins, the Robinson house was originally painted dark green. However, in The Choices, the house was painted purple before the Wattersons moved in. The episode The Shell was largely inspired by Hayao Miyazaki. When Penny morphs into a dragon, it's a reference to Haku and his dragon from Spirited Away. The front doors of Elmore Junior High matches the colors of the Watterson children. The game Dodge or Dare that Gumball and Darwin made up is the most dangerous board game ever created. The live-action pictures of the school are from Abraham Lincoln High School in San Francisco. The Victorian-style homes in the town resemble houses from Vallejo, California, and actually most of Elmore is inspired by Vallejo, California, and this location has been confirmed to be Elmore in real life. The Amazing World of Gumball was originally going to be about a remedial school for rejected cartoon characters. The 3-eyed smiley face on Miss Simeon's door is a reference to the 2001 film Evolution. Despite being 10 years old, Darwin is a 7th grader just like Gumball. There's a club at Elmore Junior High called the Rejects Club. I guess that's one way to make sure everyone has a place to fit in. Nicole, Richard, and other adults in the show went to the same school that their kids currently attend. Elmore is geographically surrounded by large bodies of water that require a large bridge to cross. And Elmore also has a second dimension known as the Void, where all of its mistakes end up going. Mr. Small's first name is Steve, and this name came from his own character designer. Mr. Small's appearances are usually preceded by the strum of a sitar. The Robinsons were inspired by the Muppets. Though they resemble real puppets, don't be fooled because they're actually animated in CGI. Tina's design is inspired by the T-Rexes from King Kong and Jurassic Park. Carrie's 3D animation anaglyph outline is a reference to the old B-horror movies that were occasionally in 3D. Carrie Cougar's name is a reference to two famous horror movie icons, Carrie and Freddy Cougar. Carrie was born a ghost and is the child of Vladis Legislav. Carrie's reflection doesn't show up in mirrors, but if she possesses someone, her reflection will replace the person that she's possessing. Carrie was possessed by the jealousy spirit in the episode The Flower, which means that a ghost can be possessed by another spirit. Richard is a pacifist, while Nicole is a fighter. Carrie's early design looks like a Boo from Mario. Richard is super lazy because his mom sheltered him and babied him as a kid. Her overprotective nature is the product of Richard's father leaving him when he was just a kid. Hector's name uses the prefix hecto, the factor of 100. His last name is a reference to the Norse word Jotunheimer, the homeland of giants. Tobias can change colors at will, and his mom and sister also have headbands just like him. Tobias is named after one of the show's writers, Toby Wilson. Mrs. Yodathum was inspired by Yubba from Spirited Away. Their designs are similar, and they both have giant, potentially destructive suns. The evil turtle's death is a reference to Ben Bucklet's own pet turtle dying of dehydration. The donut cop actually has a craving to eat donuts, despite being a donut. Wait, isn't that technically cannibalism? Alan and Carmen like each other and are going out, but their love can never be, because he's a balloon and Carmen is a cactus. If you do the math, something's gonna pop. After Rob escaped the void, his design was altered to be much more low res. His head is polygonal and his face occasionally turns to static, and one of his feet are a wireframe. In The Nobody, Rob swears vengeance on Gumball and Darwin after they ignored him in the void, becoming their arch nemesis for future episodes. It's implied that Idaho's family is actually based on the Amish. In the episode The Finale, it's revealed that Larry has taken on a multitude of jobs to pay for the damages that were caused by the water sins. No wonder he doesn't like them. Larry works at Laser Video, Elmar Gas Station, Food and Stuff, Joyful Burger, Shoe Store, Ripley 2000, Fervidus Pizza, Elmore Shopping, and also is an accountant, ice cream vendor, pest control, and a repairman. If Larry ever stops working, the entire economic structure of Elmore would collapse. In The Banana, it's revealed that Banana Joe's eyes and mouth can be removed and stuck back on, so he has a whole closet of spares. The population of Elmore is a modest 20,000 people, suggesting that it's a somewhat large town or small city in the USA. This is odd though, given the presence of high-rise office towers in Elmore, which are usually only in major cities. Banana Joe's personality and appearance are inspired by the term top banana. Gumball looks like Nicole, but behaves like Richard, while Anais looks like Richard and has a similar personality to Nicole. The inspiration for Anais is Ben's own sister Anais, who is a computer programmer in real life. Anais is one of the more mature and intelligent members of her family. She even makes Gumball and Darwin breakfast in the morning. The live-action location shots that are used in the show are filmed mainly in California, New York, and the UK. Ben cites Who Framed Roger Rabbit as an inspiration for the mixed media approach to the show. Gumball and Darwin's Make the Most of It rap sneaks in a subtle reference to Brad Neely's famous George Washington rap. The show's executive producer Daniel Leonard considers The Amazing World of Gumball the ultimate boys show.
It just needs some mozzarella. There.
Much of the 3D rendering work on Gumball is done at Studio Soy, an animation studio in Ludwigsburg, Germany. Other 2D and 3D animation work not completed at Studio Soy is completed by Boulder Media, an animation company based in Dublin, Ireland. Gumball is produced as a storyboard-driven show, meaning that its storyboard artists don't work from a script, but rather a loose story outline. And this is what Ben attributes the spontaneity of the show to. Gumball's classmate, William, the Flying Eye, is not only a tattletale snitch, but he even resembles a golden snitch from the Harry Potter series. The character Neckbeard bears a uncanny resemblance to Pikachu from Pokemon. The official Gumball comics, published by Boom Studios, ran for a total of 8 issues before cancellations. The G is the first Gumball episode where Darwin is seen wearing pants. Carlton, Troy, Santa Claus, Mr. Crease, and Superintendent Evil are the only human characters to appear in the show. Originally, Troy, Carlton, and Mr. Crease were going to be animals. Troy was a bird, Carlton was a dog, and Mr. Crease was a beaver. Despite being a suburban neighborhood, Elmore has its own airline, which is renowned for its lack of legroom. Gumball is admitted to being to the hospital way more times than any other character in the series. Gumball, Darwin, Tina, and Penny are all playable characters in the Cartoon Network MMO Project Exonaut. There are over 50 original songs sung throughout the Gumball series. Sussy, her parents, the butterfly, and Superintendent Evil are the only characters in Gumball that utilize live-action characters. Darwin is revealed to be allergic to feathers in the episode The Allergy, as we see in The Origins. Gumball has had countless other orange fish named Darwin that he owned before Darwin. The name Gumball was chosen as the title of the show because Ben Bucklett wanted to call it something that would remind people of their childhood, so he named it after something that every child might have in their pocket. Ben Bucklett worked hard as a development artist for Cartoon Network. When he was asked by the VP of Development to pitch some cartoon ideas, at the time he had pitched Gumball, as well as another show involving cryptozoology. What the heck is that, you ask? It's the study of evidence that proves the formerly unproven existence of the Loch Ness Monster or the Abominable Snowman. It took 9 months from when the show was originally pitched to when it was greenlit, mostly because the original concept was rejected. Ben based the show off a family sitcom, but replaced normal human characters with nonsensical creatures. Many gags and storylines in the show are loosely based off real instances that occurred in Ben's family. Ben attributes the success of the show to the authenticity that comes with basing the show on real life. He has also always desired wanting to make a show with a mixed media format, because he believes it's what makes the show so distinctive. Art director Anton Perez helped create the mixed media design with ease by using his own method in designing the show's background. Antone even used VFX tactics to incorporate the different types of media in the show. The reasons the background in the show are realistic is because Ben wants to portray Elmore as a place that actually exists in the real world. As we already know, the Wattersons' house and the Robinsons' house were both filmed on location in Vallejo, California. This area was particularly chosen because of its 50s, 60s style architecture that you'd probably expect in a family sitcom. To find out which jokes were featured in the show, pretty much the entire writing staff has to laugh at a joke unanimously. Therefore, some jokes were written fast, and others were more labor-intensive. The Wattersons' last name is a reference to Bill Watterson, the creator of Kelvin and Hobbes. The Robinsons' house address in real life is 1022 York Street, Vallejo, California. The show was originally meant to end after season 3, but due to fan support and critical acclaim, it was extended. Terry, the paper bear, is one of the few characters animated to look like a literal paper cutout to reflect her germophobic and delicate personality. Despite being a dinosaur, Tina Rex is one of the most emotionally vulnerable characters, often shown crying or needing reassurance. Carrie has a band called the Safety Coffins, a reference to old burial devices that would let you alert someone if you're buried alive. Mrs. Robinson and Barbara Banana are some of the only characters to never speak in the show. Despite Elmore Junior High supposedly being the local school, the Wattersons have to drive through a busy expressway just to get there. The show has parodied countless genres, including horror, anime, courtroom dramas, musical, and sci-fi, all in the same season. The sales agreement Jeff signs in The Sale reveals the Robinson home to be 1,530 square feet. This is much smaller than its real-world counterpart, which is 2,310 square feet. There are many shows who have tried to copy the amazing world of Gumball, one of which being Miracle Star, which is a cheap Chinese knockoff of Gumball. But instead of taking the boring approach and suing them, Cartoon Network decided to clap back at Miracle Star by making their own episode called The Copycats to make fun of the show. And in Gumball's version, they used their own original character versions of the Miracle Star copycats, naming them Chi-Chi and Ribbit. Another show that closely resembles Gumball and has even been accused of copying it is Pinky Malinky, which seems to be mostly original but has a lot of similar elements to Gumball. The show's sound designer uses household items like plastic cups and bubble wrap for many of the sound effects. The writer's room intentionally blocked how often they use certain recurring jokes to avoid burnout, like the use of fourth wall breaks. In The Origins, the Robinson house was sold to the Robinsons, but in The Heart, while showing a flashback when the Watterson family moved next door, Mr. Robinson is shown to already be moved in, which is a pretty big plot hole. Nicole's maiden name is Senicourt, which is subtly referenced on the paperwork in the choices. Despite being a minor character, Carmen the cactus has a complex personality and is sometimes shown being manipulative. The character Clayton is made of literal clay and has different animation styles depending on his mood in different episodes. The house that Larry lives in is based on 918 Capitol Street, Vallejo, California. The Wattersons TV often plays generic stock footage. This heavily contrasts the madness of the rest of the show. Some of the background characters are animated using recycled rigs from earlier versions of characters. Darwin's singing voice is done by different actors than his speaking voice in certain musical numbers. Some of the locations in the show, like Elmore Mall or Laser Video, are photo-scanned real-world locations. Miss Simeon's original concept art depicted her as a hunched-over librarian with a gothic look. Gumball has impersonated nearly every main character at some point, with his body often morphing in different weird ways to mock the character. The swimming pool area in Elmore Junior High closely resembles the gym, which suggests that they may be located in the same place. But this is contradicted in The Club, where both the pool and gym area are shown. In The Remote, the Wattersons reenact Lord of the Flies in their battle for TV dominance. Darwin sometimes refers to Gumball as Dude more than by his name, showing their casual friendship. Leslie the Flower was initially designed to be a female character, but this was changed last minute. The show has a subtle rule. If it would happen in a sitcom, it must happen more chaotically in Elmore. Tobias and Rachel are so far the only characters, along with their family, known to live on the outskirts of Elmore, as shown in The Third and The Party, though this may have been contradicted in Christmas, as the Wilsons are shown to be living on the same street as the Wattersons. In The Disaster, time rewinds multiple times, referencing Groundhog Day and possibly Run Lola Run. The character Ocho is based on 8-bit sprite art and has glitch powers as a result. The episode The Gripes pokes fun at online comment sections and toxic fandom culture. There's a running theory that Rob is the only character aware of being in a cartoon, and this is supported by his arc in later seasons. Mr. Small's obsession with crystals is a parody of new age pseudoscience culture. The phrase "the amazing world of" was added later in development to help market the show internationally. The animators often used real textures, like fabric scans and paper, to add depth to characters and environments. To maintain consistency, a custom software was developed to help manage the integration of various animation styles. The character designs intentionally break traditional animation rules, allowing for more expressive and exaggerated movements. The production team used a color script for each episode to ensure emotional consistency throughout the scenes. The boys' bathroom sign changes colors in different episodes. Banana Joe's personality was based off of the classic slapstick comedy from the 1920s. The show's visual style evolves subtly over the seasons to reflect the character's growth in the passage of time. One of the biggest examples of this is Gumball and Darwin's designs, with them both having bold big shadows in season 1 and more oval-shaped eyes. But by season 2, their characters got a complete redesign, going for more of a light shadow and rounded edges on the characters. And by the end of season 6, the characters look way more polished. I can only imagine how they'll look in season 7. Darwin's evolution from a pet fish to a fully integrated family member in The Origins symbolizes themes of growth and acceptance. Darwin was bought out of a mysterious van when he was just a baby, and later, through his emotional bond with Gumball, he grew legs and lungs which helped him survive on land. Anais, despite being the youngest, often serves as a voice of reason, highlighting the reversal of traditional family roles. Nicole's character explores the challenges of balancing career ambitions with family responsibilities. Also, her parents had super high standards for her, with ridiculous examples such as her mom getting mad at her for having an F in gender, even though she's just a girl. And they even gave Nicole the first name Doctor, because they wanted her to be a doctor, so her full legal name is Dr. Nicole Watterson. That's insane. Richard, on the other hand, embodies the concept of eternal childhood, providing a contrast to Nicole's seriousness. The show's soundtrack blends various genres, including electronic, orchestral, and jazz, to match the show's crazy visuals. The show frequently parodies internet culture, involving memes and viral videos. Gumball has been translated into over 20 languages, expanding its global reach. They've also made merchandise including toys, clothing, and comic comic books. Fan art and online communities have played a significant role in the show's enduring success. And they even made an episode referencing weird fan shippings. And this episode is called The Shippening. The Amazing World of Gumball has won several awards. It received the Best Children's Series Award and the Children's Choice Award in the British Academy Children's Awards in 2018. Gumball has 6 seasons. The series produced a total of 240 episodes, each averaging about 11 minutes in length. One of Gumball's voice actors, Nicholas Cantu, had their own YouTube channel at one point called Junkie Janker. But then later, he ended up getting in some drama with Dream, and after that, he deleted a lot of his online presence. Leslie is the only male character who is a member of the Treehouse Girls. In The Origins, it's revealed that a massive desert surrounds Elmore. Ben Bucklett also voiced multiple characters himself in the show, like Banana Joe's dad, and a bunch of other minor characters. Jacob Hopkins, who voiced Gumball in the later seasons, started his acting career at the age of 5. Terrell Ransom Jr., the voice of Darwin, is also known for his role on Days of Our Lives. Kayla Ray Kowaleski, who voices Anais, began her acting career with Gumball at just 9 years old. The show's voice actors often recorded their lines together, which helped them make the scene sound more natural. Logan Grove, the original voice of Gumball, transitioned into live-action roles after his time on the show. Christian J. Simon, who voices Darwin in the later seasons, also appeared in Disney Channel's Sydney to the Max. The Disaster and The Rerun form a 2-part story at the end of Season 4 to the beginning of Season 5, with the main villain Rob trying to defeat Gumball. And the episode The Choices shows a glimpse into Nicole's past, and we get to see what would happen if she got with different partners. Jacob Hopkins, who voiced Gumball in Seasons 3 through 5, often shared that he developed a unique laugh for the Gumball character. The school showering stalls have been destroyed twice in the series. The first time was in the skull, and the second time was in the voice. The internal working title from the episode The Void was The Leftovers, but they changed it due to the HBO show of the same name. In a behind-the-scenes interview, an animator revealed that Carrie's 3D ghost aura is the hardest visual effect to composite in the entire show. The word Elmore is from a surname which comes from, I'm about to pronounce this so bad, Oflinmir, which is an Old English name that is a compound of noble and famous. Nicole's anime transformation was originally supposed to have a voiceover in Japanese with subtitles, but it was eventually cut for pacing reasons. An early design of Rob shows him using an arm and a hand as a third leg. In the Portuguese dub, Richard's voice is far more serious and competent sounding, which fans say changed his character entirely. At the time of recording this video, Gumball has officially been on the air for 14 years, airing from 2011 to 2025. In The Upgrade, it's revealed that there's a large line of various Bobbert models, including New Bobbert, which is an upgraded version of Bobbert. In Miss Simeon's office, behind her is a portrait of someone who looks like a mix of Mr. Robinson and George Washington. Laser Video in the Gumball universe is a hybrid of the name Family Video and Laserdisc. Ocho's glitch powers are a visual metaphor for anxiety. His pixelation gets worse as he gets nervous or ignored. Richard's obesity is never mocked in universe. Characters insult his laziness, but not his body, which was a deliberate decision by the writers. Rob's name was first revealed after people were asking one of the show's creators, James Lamont, who the blue Cyclops from The Party was. At first, jokingly, he responded with, "We don't speak of him," but after more asking, he gave in and revealed his name. Rob's descent into villainy parallels real-world parasocial obsession. He begins as a fan of Gumball who becomes jealous and twisted over time. Gumball has been heavily implied on various occasions throughout the series, as well as confirmed by Ben Bucklett on Twitter, to be bisexual or pansexual. This is yet to be explicitly confirmed in the series, however. It's never been confirmed how long Richard and Nicole have been married, but with some clues in the show, we can make an educated guess. Gumball is 12 years old, and Nicole was already married to Richard before he was born. In the episode The Choices, we see a flashback of Nicole and Richard dating, getting married, and starting a family shortly after. Nicole was around 20 years old when she finally met Richard in college, and Nicole was around 38 to 40 years old in the present day, so assuming she married Richard at around the age of 22, they likely have been married for 16 to 18 years. The episode The Copycats was banned in China, not because of satire, but because it featured unapproved character archetypes. Right. In some international dubs, the characters' names are changed. Darwin is called Nemo in parts of Eastern Europe, which was confusing to fans. The episode The Ollie reveals that Gumball is great at skateboarding, but only when no one is watching him. The series finale, The Inquisition, was mistakenly aired in Latin America, sparking conspiracy theories about the show being canceled mid-season. In Russia, the show was briefly pulled from the air due to scenes that promoted rebellion against authority. Later, this was reinstated after edits. The Night is considered the least aired episode worldwide, due to its disturbing dreamlike content and lighting effects. According to Richard in Ancestor Art, which is an episode of the Gumball Chronicles, Frankie's mom is a cockatoo. Rocky's x-ray shows that he doesn't have a skull. Instead, he just has a hand where his skull should be. This is a joke based off him being a puppet. Gumball was nominated for an Emmy in 2017, but it lost to Bob the Builder, a fact that the creator tweeted about bitterly. One animator admitted that working on The Singing gave him tetanitis because of the endless loop of Darwin's high-pitched notes. Rocky's age varies depending on the source. In The Mystery, his age is stated to be 27, but on the official Japanese website, it says that he's 31. In The Loophole, Bobbert mentions System 32, referring to a special folder in the Windows operating system containing executables important to its normal functioning. In The Pizza, Gumball reveals that Laser Video is his favorite store. In The Uploads, Richard beats the hardest game in the world. Calculator, Gaylord Robinson, the Wattersons' neighbor, openly dislikes and tries to avoid their antics. The official Elmore map, used by the writers, never matches what's seen on screen, and this was on purpose to reflect cartoon logic. It's not clear exactly what kind of job Nicole does, though she is seen answering phones in the Rainbow Complaints office in the game. Margaret Robinson is easily the most evil character in the show. She's very similar to Mr. Robinson, except she never shows any real emotion or character development. Many fans think she's literally the devil herself. Frankie Watterson abandoned his family, leaving Richard to be raised by Granny JoJo alone. The episode The Signal contains a real air message from Adobe Animate, and this was left in intentionally. Gumball has over 49,000 fanfics across various sites, more than Gravity Falls and regular show combined. The phrase, "it's so dumb it's deep," became a meme among fans to describe episodes like The Job or The Loophole. There are over 300 characters in the show, but only 12 appear in more than 50 episodes. The shipping of Gumball x Darwin became so widespread online that it was explicitly mocked in the shippening. In a 2019 survey of Cartoon Network animators, Gumball was voted the hardest show to storyboard due to its surreal transitions. Fans discovered an alternate dub of The Responsible, where Gumball uses the F word. This was likely a glitch though on a foreign streaming service. The episode The End is often mistaken as the true finale of the series, but it aired midway through season 2, so it was just a red herring. The clown first appears in season 3 episode 10 titled The Procrastinators, and he is voiced by Mick Graves, who is also the show's director and executive producer, and this clown creepily shows up in the background of multiple episodes. But there's a theory that this clown is actually trying to kidnap Gumball and Darwin, but for some reason he can't. But before I tell you why, let me redirect your attention to that shiny subscribe button. You know you want to click it. Anyways, the reason is that us, the viewers, are watching him, so he doesn't want to get caught. The clown has no name and is never directly addressed by one in dialogue, adding to this creepy mystery. Despite his scary look, he's never physically harmed anyone. He just sticks to psychological fear. Many fans theorize that the clown may be a metaphor for anxiety or intrusive thoughts, due to his timing and presence. As I said earlier, the Watterson house is modeled after a real location in Vallejo, California, but the interior layout doesn't match the outside, which fans have debated for years. Richard might actually not be dumb. Let me explain. We all know that Richard is just seen as your typical cartoon dad, and this is because of his really messed up childhood, which includes a lot of things like his father abandoning him when he was just a young child, leading his mother to baby him so hard and force feed him to the point of dumbness. Richard was constantly bullied as a young kid by Tobias's father, and he was even tricked into believing that he was supposed to be the prom king. Him being a lonely child made it so that his only friend was the magic fridge where he kept all of his memories, which he had to learn to let go of when he got older. Nicole's anime sequence in The Fury was animated at 24 FPS, which is double the usual frame rate for the show, making it the smoothest sequence ever aired. Background characters like Jamie are sometimes rendered at lower resolutions during crowd shots to speed up rendering. Billy speaks with a British accent, being one of the few supporting characters in the show who do. Richard might actually be in crippling debt, and we find this out in the episode The Uncle, when Richard tries to buy 100 expired donuts with his credit card, but for some reason it gets declined. But thankfully, Larry lets him sign up for an in-store credit card. But the problem with this is that this card has insane interest. Anton is the character who has died the most times. I don't know exactly how many, but it has to be in the hundreds. In The Society, Rocky reveals that his ATM number is 0380, his email password is RockyRockXXX, and his Elmore Plus password is Unbreakable. The design of Elmore Mall was actually inspired by the Maryhill shopping center located in Berkeley Hill, West Midlands, England. Nicole's voice actress, Teresa Gallagher, also voices Penny and Margaret Robinson, making her one of the most versatile voice actors in the show. In the Czech dub, Mr. Small's voice is far deeper and sounds like a cult leader. In the Brazilian dub of the singing, there's a completely different melody for Darwin's solo, due to the localization of rhyme schemes. One of Darwin's voice actors admitted he would record screaming lines by jumping into a pillow from across the room. Anaïs's French voice actress is a stage actor who performed Shakespeare. During the first season, Gumball seems to have trouble remembering Alan's name, calling him Adrian, Alfred, Andrew, Arthur, Alex, and so many other names. Gumball's Spanish dub features a more sarcastic tone, which fans believe makes him more unlikable than the original voice. Ocho's voice is pitched down electronically to make him sound more like a robot. Voice actors for Gumball occasionally receive fake scripts to prevent leaks. One fake script involved Gumball and Darwin becoming truckers, and honestly, I want this to be an episode now. That sounds awesome! Gumball was originally going to be a cat named Bobby. In early concept art, he was a blue cat named Bobby who wore a red hoodie. In Turkey, the girlfriend was pulled from TV after conservative backlash over Darwin cross-dressing. In almost every photo shoot Alan appears in, his facial features look very realistic and human-like. However, in episodes such as The Storm, his pictures, especially with Carmen, show him with his usual appearance. The animators use Maya and Adobe After Effects for the show. 3D elements like Banana Joe's head and the Void were modeled in Maya and then composited with 2D layers. Dan Russell, the voice actor for Richard Watterson, also voices several other characters in the show, like Penny's dad, Dr. Butt, Coach Russo, Donut Cop, Egghead, and Tina Rex. The episode The Stories was accidentally uploaded to Cartoon Network's channel before the episode even released. It was taken down within 12 minutes though, so they got to it quick. The Refund was originally aired out of order, confusing viewers because it takes place before Gumball meets Rob. It's revealed in The Photo that Alan anonymously donates all of his allowances to charity. He never tells anyone about it because he cares very much about the cause. It's revealed in The Storm that whatever Alan eats gets turned into literal air. Some dubs censor Darwin in a bathtub by adding bubbles over areas that were already PG. Every episode of season 6 features at least one glitch or reality break, foreshadowing the last episode of the season. There's a popular theory that Elmore exists in a post-apocalyptic world, and the characters are all mutated survivors. This theory even has its own wiki page. Fans notice that each family member represents a sitcom archetype. Gumball's the class clown, Darwin has a big heart, Nicole's the straight man, Richard's a fool, and Anaïs is the brains. When Alan's voice is pitched down, it sounds very similar to Tobias's voice, as they were both voiced by the same person. Some fans believe Mr. Small's a time traveler, because he never ages and knows about events before they happen. Principal Brown and Miss Simeon are implied to be teaching since the 1800s. This is hinted at in The Ape and The Legacy, suggesting that time is unstable in Elmore. There is an entire subreddit dedicated to mapping the layout of the Watterson house based on clues from different episodes. Rob is the only character who's aware he's in a cartoon for most of the series. His descent into the void awakened this awareness, leading to his obsession with fixing the world. A popular meme compares Gumball to BoJack Horseman, for how both shows balance humor and existential dread. Fans call it BoJack for Zoomers. The creators once joked that Richard Watterson is technically immortal, since he's been hit by trucks, exploded, and fallen off cliffs with no permanent change. A real Gumball video game was pitched in 2016, but it never got past concept art. Screenshots, though, showed a platformer involving the void. There's a theory that Gumball and Darwin live in a computer simulation. This theory almost makes too much sense to me, because we all know that in Elmore there's a mix of 2D characters, 3D characters, and so much more. And the vibes of the show remind me of an early 2000s computer game, which leads me to believe that the amazing world of Gumball takes place in a computer simulation. Anaïs's real name is Anaïs Watterson, and Mr. Robinson's real name is Gaylord Robinson. Every episode title card in season 6 hides a visual glitch symbol somewhere in the design, referencing Rob tempering with reality. The animators once considered an episode where Gumball enters the real world and becomes a badly composited 2D character in real life. This is the most sus moment in the amazing world of Gumball. Richard's driver's license shows his birthday is February 31st, implying he's not even real in his own universe. There has been multiple anime references in the amazing world of Gumball. First is in the episode The Past, where Gumball goes Super Saiyan, which is from the anime Dragon Ball Z. Next is in The Lie, where Richard floats using Sky Moon Prism power, which is based off of Sailor Moon. And another one I found is in the episode The Choices, where Nicole Naruto runs. There's a lot more, but if I went over all them, I'd be here all day. In The Boss, it's shown that Rocky can surprisingly whistle with his butt. In The Butterfly, Rocky is shown hitting Allison with his quote weak arm, which happens to be his right arm. This may imply that Rocky is left-handed. In In the factory, it's revealed that there are 50 workers in the Rainbow Factory. There's a location called the Forest of Doom in Gumball. It's located in what appears to be a large park in Elmore. When viewed from far above the trees, it possesses an uncanny resemblance to a human skull. Miss Simeon's chalkboard often contains real Latin phrases, like Noil di Tengi, which means do not touch me, and Memento Mori, which means remember you will die. Unlike most stereotypical gym coaches, Coach Russo is overweight and unathletic. For example, while she was chasing Miss Simeon as a zombie in The Joy, she had to stop every few steps to catch her breath. Contrary to popular belief, Gumball can swim and dive just fine. His primitive cat instincts just make him sometimes believe that he can. In Brazil, Banana Joe's name was changed to Joaquim Banana, a pun that accidentally matched a real politician's name. Sal Left Thumb's song in The Boredom reveals that he wanted to pursue a career in music, but he turned to a life of crime because he was rejected by the producers. Several episodes underwent title changes during production. For instance, The World was originally titled The Objects, and The Fraud was originally called The Phony. Gumball has 6 whiskers, but only 5 are visible due to the animation style. Granny JoJo has a lot in common with Sheila from South Park. For example, she is extremely overprotective towards her family, speaks in a New Jersey accent, and has trouble admitting when she's wrong. The episode The Nest reveals that Gumball's evil pet turtle is a female, a fact that was foreshadowed by her desire to reproduce in The Puppy. Granny JoJo has so much metal in her that she is legally classified as a motorized vehicle, and this is according to what she said in The Man. Despite Sal Left Thumb's dangerous nature, his preferred weapon for robbing is a simple old rusty spoon. In The Debt, it's shown that Mr. Robinson is a very good singer and dancer. This is also seen again in the episode The Singing. Larry's paycheck in the finale shows he earns exactly $3.72 per job. No matter what it is, bro is literally working for pennies. In early concepts, Tobias was designed without lips, and his character underwent several changes before finalization. Storyboard artists were encouraged to add their own jokes and visual gags, leading to more of a collaborative creative process. Over the seasons, character designs were subtly refined to improve animation fluidity and expressiveness. Nicole calls Gumball the nickname Gummy Puss in the episode The Meddler. Nicole's fight stance in The Fury was modeled after Chun-Li from Street Fighter frame by frame. Gumball's whiskers are inset like his mother's, but they pop out like his father's when his girlfriend Penny tells him they need more space in the episode The Rose. Ocho's real name is Harry Tootmorsel. Gumball is the only male character in the show with big hips that stand out from the rest of his body. Mr. Robinson owns a pearl white 1964 Lincoln Continental, which appears in several episodes, but most notably in the car. The Amazing World of Gumball has a massive production team, with a staggering 100 people working on the show. All 3 of the Watterson kids are actually voiced by kids, which Ben thought added an interesting dynamic. Juke's name comes from the jukebox, which is a machine that plays and records music, which was somewhat common in the 1950s to 1970s. Jamie was originally designed to be a boy, but the crew thought a female bully dynamic would add more variety. Darwin's squeaky shoes were recorded by using a dog toy pressed repeatedly against a hardwood floor. Ben claims the biggest lesson he learned while making Gumball is that in order to really engage an audience, the show must represent its creator. The episode titled The End is Ben Bucklett's favorite. He claims despite seeing it a million times, the jokes still make him laugh. The show's creative team are all fanboys of the 1980s era, which is what unite all of them on this project. Gumball features various film references and nods to the 80s because of the major influence that had over the show. To be specific, it was Spielberg films, as well as other 80s Golden Age cinema titles, such as Back to the Future and Karate Kid. Anais's favorite toy is Daisy the Donkey, and I don't think she's capable of living without her. The show's logo is pixelated on purpose as yet another nod to the 80s. Ben Bucklett wanted to give Gumball braces at one point, but the animators couldn't figure out how to make them look right in 2D. All of the Wattersons actually became humans briefly in the episode The Nuisance, and they actually looked really weird, but the other human characters in the episode The Inquisition actually kind of looked fire. As the series progresses, Mr. Robinson becomes somewhat friendlier to Gumball and Darwin, with the exception of the season 4 episode The Sale. Mr. Robinson is one of the few characters from season 1 that never underwent a design change. The showrunners originally pitched a season 7 art where Rob merges with the Void and permanently becomes a godlike glitch, but Cartoon Network vetoed it. A running gag in several episodes is that whenever Coach attempts to whistle, she fails miserably and spews saliva at her students in the process. The animators use Google Street View to lay out several background neighborhoods in the show. Looney Tunes, South Park, and The Simpsons were credited as the biggest inspirations for Gumball. In 2010, the show started out as a storyboard-driven show, using photographs to start before jumping directly into the storyboarding process. But now, episodes are entirely scripted first, and then heavily developed during the storyboarding phase. The only thing that Mrs. Robinson ever says in the show is, meh. Mrs. Robinson's hair is much more gray than usual in the later seasons, indicating that her wig is either losing its color or that she's aging. Darwin's eyes were originally meant to be small and far apart, resembling a real goldfish, but the crew thought it was too unsettling. In addition to the storylines, most of the characters in the show were based off real people in Ben's life, and it's more than just his family that's featured in the cartoon. The Robinsons were his actual neighbors growing up. The show is noted for its proper storytelling, one of the many reasons why people who work on the show feel like it became such a huge success. The rainbow, often used in the show's design, is representative of the show itself, and how all of the characters in it are very diverse, yet all come together to create something beautiful. Director McGraves expressed his love for the more cinematic approach often displayed in the show. His favorite scene to work on was the car chase scene with Miss Simeon in season 1. The Gumball writing staff used tabletop writing to come up with the show's episodes. Basically, someone comes up with a funny idea, and the other writers would build off it and make suggestions until they have a really solid episode idea. Mr. Small's van is a real vehicle modeled in 3D, using photo from an actual Volkswagen used by a crew member. Nicole's high school outfit from The Choices was based off Ben Bucklett's sketchbook doodles from college. Despite being unathletic, coaches somehow won 3 gold medals in trampolining. The fish tank Darwin came from in The Origins was based off a real fish tank in a Cartoon Network writer's office. The creator Ben Bucklett is 44 years old, and he's been doing animation ever since he was 12. According to the Gumball wiki, there are a ton of lost characters who were designed but never made. These include characters like Butthead, Worm, and Poop Guy. The writers confirm in an AMA that Richard canonically doesn't know how to spell his last name. Coach Russo won the 1986 Olympics in Elmore, but in actuality, there was no 1986 Olympics, meaning that Coach might have lied about her winning the Olympics, or they may have happened in the show's universe, I don't really know. Darwin treats his feet like private parts, because every time we see him in the show without shoes, his feet are censored. The Gumball team pitched an April Fool's episode where every character's voice was swapped with the wrong one, but ultimately Cartoon Network rejected it. Banana Joe's voice actor once voiced every character in a scratch track for The Banana, just to save him time. Season 4 introduced a whole host of new characters into the show. This played into one of the main storylines of the season, which is that Elmore has far more students than Gumball and Darwin ever realized. To come up with ideas for the show, the writers often reference their own childhoods for inspiration. In The Hug, it's revealed that Hot Dog Guy's name is actually Hot Dog Guy. Despite being somewhat prominent in the show, Molly does not have a bio on any Cartoon Network sites, unlike some of the other minor characters who have bios. That just really goes to show how irrelevant Molly is. Sarah replaced Molly in season 2, and Molly didn't reappear officially until The Void. It's revealed in The Flower that Leslie and Penny are cousins. Once the writers come up with a concept for an episode, they start working on fitting in gags wherever they can. It's the second most important step in the writing process, considering this is a comedy show. The episode The Genius has a long math equation on the board. It actually equals 42, and it's also a Hitchhiker's Guide reference. Ocho's glitch sprites are based on the NES Mega Man enemies, with the team having to tweak them just enough to avoid copyright. There were some rumors that in the past, Ben initially pitched the show to Adult Swim, but he confirmed this wasn't true on Twitter. But he did note that he would like to drop an idea on Adult Swim one day. Gumball was the very first show to be produced on Cartoon Network Studios Europe. The studio opened in 2007, and Gumball started production in 2009. The fact that the show has been on the air for so long amazes Ben Bucklett. He thought that it would last for at most 3 seasons. The puppets originally had a scrap joke where Gumball got trapped in a sock puppet and begs to be burned. Banana Joe's ringtone in season 4 is literally a fart. One of the lead people on the Gumball team, Sarah Fell, has her own character being based after her, Sarah Gelato, and Sarah even has her own nickname for the character. She refers to herself as the D-O-double-G Scoop Dog. Mrs. Robinson has cheated on her husband twice, once in The Boss and once in The Slide. Since Jamie doesn't have any knees, she either waddles or kicks her legs when she walks. For some reason, it makes a goose stepping motion when she does. The web was meant to include a fake wiki called Elmorepedia, but CN Legal didn't clear it. Ben has mentioned that it's been hard to keep the quality of the show at such a high standard. He thinks it's important though to keep it so that the writers don't get bored. In the name, Gumball has an alter ego named Zach, and his evil laugh was made using a reversed audio file of a seagull scream. Despite his feelings for Miss Simeon, Principal Brown threatened to fire her if she kept framing Gumball and Darwin in the apology, and he even sent her back to the 8th grade at the end of the grades, after discovering that Miss Simeon cheated on him back in the day. According to an artist on the Gumball team, the character Louie has a back tattoo that says property of Granny JoJo, which is never visible in the show, and thank God for that, honestly. I don't want to see that. The type of cat Nicole takes after hasn't been confirmed in the show. However, it's possible that she's a tabby. In the episode The Job, when everyone turns into their live-action counterparts in the car, Nicole changes into an adorable tabby, which makes sense because blue cats don't even exist. It's proof proven that Mrs. Robinson is wearing a wig in the car when Gumball and Darwin hit it with a ball, causing it to fall off. Tobias's voice actor was told to channel a bro who's never read a book during casting. Contrary to common belief, Donut Cop is not a sheriff, and this is proven by the fact that a close-up of his badge reads Chief of Police, and that the other officers refer to him as Chief. The Donut Cop shares several similarities with Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons. For example, he appears to be incapable of working with the police due to his ignorance. His voice sounds similar to Wiggum, and he likes to eat donuts frequently. We all know that Nicole isn't the calmest character in the show, although she does go to anger management. Whether it's useful or not hasn't been decided. Tobias and Gumball weigh 180 pounds combined as shown in the Society. Nicole's anime mode eyes in The Fury were inspired by Kill la Kill, according to the lead animator. Most people who have never seen the show mistake Alan for a female, possibly because of her eyelashes, which are more common on female characters, and also because of his high voice, which is caused by helium. But Alan is actually a dude. In a fake Cartoon Network press release, one claimed a crossover between Gumball and Clarence. It was later revealed to be an elaborate April Fool's joke by a staffer. The Chinese dub of Gumball uses different music cues during fight scenes to emphasize comedy over action. There's a good amount of Gumball merch out there, but some McDonald's toys have Gumball wearing a red vest and shoes, which is very different from what he usually wears in the show. Bobber is one of the characters who were originally created by Ben Boclet for old commercial pitches. In a scrapped plotline, Nicole was supposed to have a long-lost twin sister who was even more intense and competitive. According to the Gumball wiki, Sussy's species is Chinkin. Did you know that there was a whole sequence in The Weirdo that was entirely drawn by children? So if you ever think you can't do something, just remember that literal children have provided art for an internationally acclaimed cartoon. While the kids themselves didn't animate the entire sequence, the kids did draw all of the art that was used. Ben expressed that The Weirdo was supposed to resonate with people who felt misunderstood. Darwin canonically cannot grow fingernails, which is why he slaps instead of punches. Tobias has become notably less popular with the other kids in the school as the series has progressed. Like most creators, Ben is hard on himself when it comes to Gumball. He feels like he fell short on season 1 because he wanted it to be 40 episodes, but it landed on a measly 36 episodes instead. To fix this, season 6 of Gumball got bumped up to 44 episodes. Boclet wanted to do this to make up for season 1 being 4 episodes short than every other season. The oldest character in all of Gumball easily has to be Miss Simian, because she is over 300,000 years old. I don't think any other character even comes close to her in age. Sussy's eyes are always looking in different directions. This was a deliberate choice to make her always feel off. Clayton seems to suffer from mythomania, which is a behavior when the victim has the incapacity to talk about past events without nonsensical lies. The original pilot that was released in 2008 had a bunch of differences, like Gumball and Darwin's different designs. The show was originally planned to focus on Nicole, Gumball's mom, as the main protagonist. Concept was later reworked to focus more on Gumball and Darwin, but Nicole still remains one of the main characters in the series. An episode called The Rex was planned but never fully produced. It would have focused on Tina Rex's dad, a full-size T-Rex, who was supposed to be the most powerful being in Elmore. Tobias's design was inspired by 1980s workout videos. The leg warmers and sweatband were added as a joke, but were never removed. Originally, Penny's true form, a shape-shifting fairy, was supposed to be revealed as a curse, making it impossible for her and Gumball to be together, but the creators decided to change it into a positive transformation instead. The Elmore Junior High lockers are recycled 3D models from an abandoned Cartoon Network pilot project called Dr. Lollipop. Penny has a total of 8 unique transformations across the series. Banana Joe's mom, Barbara Banana, can actually paint pictures that see into the future, which builds a lot of lore that we haven't seen yet, like the Watterson family in the Void, and it even predicts events that happen at the end of season 6. Idaho canonically lives off the grid. His house doesn't appear on Elmore's map or in the city's power registry. A recurring gag in season 2 is Principal Brown having to stop his car, usually to make room for the Wattersons. This has occurred in The Remote, The Job, Christmas, and the internet. Gumball and Darwin weren't chosen to be a catfish duo by accident. Ben wanted to show off a dynamic that usually wouldn't work in real life. Richard's shirt size is Omega XXL. This was made up by the writers because nothing else fits. They really did my boy Richard dirty with that one. Ocho was almost named Pixel initially, but that name was already trademarked. Clayton is canonically banned from every Elmore sporting event due to turning into balls and cheating. Jamie was originally planned to be Penny's cousin, but this was dropped due to timeline confusion. November 1st is an important day in the Watterson family. It's none other than the anniversary of Richard Richard and Nicole's wedding, the Watterson family either lives on a wrecking yard, or at least shares the same phone number as them, as seen on a missing poster and an ad for the yard in both the Elmore residence and the Elmore wrecking yard is 555-0199. Calling a whole household can be awkward, so if you want to get in contact with Anais, then shoot her an email. Her email address is anais.watterson@elmore.com. She must be pretty important to have an official email. The handheld game console that Richard gives Gumball, called the Game Child, is of course a play on the Game Boy. Surprisingly, the Game Child did exist in real life, and it was a knockoff of the famous Game Boy. Gumball's Game Child even has a knockoff game on it too. It's called Paradox of the Enemy Within, and the logo looks exactly like the one from Final Fantasy VII. Gumball is left-handed in early seasons, but switches hands depending on the animator. The only Elmore student with perfect attendance is Clayton. He shapeshifts into other students to boost his stats. Idaho's voice actor was chosen because his audition sounded like a homeschool cowboy with anxiety. Carrie has the second most fourth wall breaks in the show, right behind Gumball. The creators of Gumball actually did a collab with Don't Hug Me I'm Scared in the episode called The Puppets. Puppet section in this episode took over 3 months to complete storyboarding, making the actual puppets and filming. That's over 3 months to make about 3 minutes worth of content. It's shown in The Burden. No matter how much hair Principal Brown waxes, it instantly grows back. Bobbert has transformed into combat mode at least 5 times. In The Robot, The Club, The Apology, and also in Gumball and Darwin's Imagination, in the episodes The Law and The Stories. Carrie doesn't sleep. Ghosts in the Gumball universe enter a trance loop, which is referred to in her dialogue. Gumball might be a bit afraid of fans of the show. In the episode The Catfish, Gumball swears to never search himself up on the internet again. He still has flashbacks of the very sus fan art. We find out that Principal Brown's degree is actually fake in the episode The Fraud. Sussy blinks asynchronously. One eye blinks before the other by exactly 0.15 seconds. Idaho's design includes several different potato species blended together. The character sheet labels him as a spud mutt. The episode The News had a big change after it initially aired. The news anchor was an actual human being, but he was later changed to be a puppet. This change wasn't because of a demand from Cartoon Network. Instead, it was because everyone on the staff wasn't a fan of the live-action actor, except Ben McClett. Masami's mother is the CEO of Weather Corporation, and she controls Elmore's climate off-screen. Anais has the highest known IQ in Elmore, which actually comes out to 256, and this is revealed on the second half of her report card in the IQ. Did you know that Principal Brown actually has some hidden secrets? In the episode The Grade, he reveals that he's apparently being hunted by the FBI. Also, Principal Brown may be a furry, but let's not dive into that one. Well, it's never made clear. Darwin refers to his parents by Mr. Dad and Mrs. Mom respectively. It could be that he's unsure about how they're his parents because he was initially their pet. In the episode The Origins Part 2, Richard insists that Darwin call him Dad, since before that, Darwin always called him Mr. Watterson. Instead, Darwin calls him Mr. Dad and sticks with that throughout his life. No parent would ever admit who their favorite child is, unless that parent is Richard. While Darwin isn't the biological son of Richard and Nicole, he's still Richard's favorite child. In The Robot, Bobbert is shown to be emotionless, but in The Mystery, he laughs at Principal Brown falling down the stairs, wrapping himself up in toilet paper, and falling into Gumball's locker. Darwin is a pretty talented fish. Did you know that he can grow his legs back on a whim? I mean, Darwin did start out with no legs, or lungs even, so it does make sense that he should just be able to grow them back. Right? I don't know if it's that deep, it's just a cartoon. In the episode The Lady, the 4 ladies are actually just guys in Elmore cosplaying as ladies, and all of these are references to the 4 girls from the Golden Girls. Darwin has said in the show that he's bald and can't seem to grow hair. However, it's possible for him to grow leg hair, which, I mean, that has gotta be a first in fish biology. Nicole's angry voice is layered with tiger growls in post-production to make it more intense. Banana Joe failed kindergarten 3 times, not because he was dumb, but because he couldn't sit still. Richard can't read cursive. This is revealed when he tries to interpret a birthday card in the signature. Some of the animation staff work second jobs in Elmore. Character designer Raphael has his signature on the $100 bill as Elmore's treasurer. Mick Graves wasn't left out either. In the episode The Best, a picture of Mick Graves can be seen briefly on Gumball's computer. Graves can also be seen on a sculpture as well. In the episode The Nuisance, Gumball pees on a piece of artwork that is signed by none other than Mick Graves. The episode The Singing might be one of the most ambitious episodes to date with all of the musical references. The opening song, sung by multiple characters, is a direct reference to Disney's Frozen called In Summer. Richard's love for food knows no bounds, which is why he sings the song I Love All My Food Fried. The song is a parody of Always on My Mind by Brenda Lee. Even planets can get sad, especially when it comes to losing their status of being a planet. Pluto's song The Hurt I Feel is a parody of Adele's Hello. There are a ton of characters in Gumball, but what's the highest number to appear in one episode? Well, 50 characters show up in The Singing, singing, giving every other character a run for its money. Oddly enough though, the singing features almost every character except for two. My boy Gumball and Darwin. The two main characters aren't even around. While Darwin has been absent from other episodes, this marks the first time Gumball didn't appear, breaking his streak of 186 episodes. Gumball's prominent hips might not even be hips at all. He's had such bad posture while sitting that it's affected his growth, and his hips are just the rest of his torso, which didn't stretch out. The newest voice actor for Gumball is Nicholas Cantu, and he's already been nominated for playing Gumball. He was chosen at the Annies for outstanding achievements in voice acting. Between Gumball and Darwin, there have been 9 actors that have played these characters. Yeah, you know, puberty will do that. Every episode title is only 2 words. The blank. The shortest episode titles are the G and the X, which tie for the shortest at 5 letters each. There are Gumball fans everywhere, even in the White House. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders tweeted a photo of herself with a turkey, and on the screen you can see the end credits of a Gumball episode. We can only wonder if the White House staff has ever seen the episode The Nuisance, in which the mayor of Elmore bears an uncanny resemblance to Donald Trump. Richard can only use his brain in the most direst of situations. In fact, when he uses it in any capacity, he undergoes a Hulk-like transformation. Banana Joe's peel color changes slightly depending on the time of day, which happens to be a subtle lighting detail. Potatoes in Elmore can be seen as food, but also people. It's a little disturbing, especially for Elmore's resident potato, Idaho. Speaking of potatoes, Idaho doesn't seem to care that Darwin has a massive potato craving. Darwin learned English by watching soap operas and singing karaoke with Gumball. How wholesome. And finally, for the last fact, only 3% of you guys are subscribed to Gumball Universe. What are you doing? Lock in! We're almost at 100K! Come on, subscribe. Please, please, please subscribe. Please, please.